Where are these?
Back to Thinking Critical. It's time for the Comics Aficionados, your Saturday comic book geek fandom. We're going to have a lot of good conversations. We had some big news. A big perennial person that had been in Marvel for over 20 years has finally left. And, typical Marvel and DC stuff. But we did have a big announcement, Joe. You were co-writing a Comixology original with legendary Rachel Pollack. What the hell's going on here, Joe?
Yeah, no. Since I've been on here, both the Archie short that I wrote got announced for Chilling Adventures Presents Jinx's Grim Fairy Tales, and then this Comixology Originals, The Neverending Party, has also been announced.
Well, congratulations!
Yeah.
It's a big time. When are these coming out?
The Comixology one on Tuesday. So nice. Issue 1 is out on June 7th, and then they'll be out once a month for the 5 issues, so it'll end in October, and then the Archie story is out August 17th.
Very nice. Doc had a question for you. Ask him, Doc.
So Joe, I read the solicit for the description of Neverending Party. Why did you copy Cena Grace's
Rockstar and Softboy?
That's it's a different thing. It's not that, and I didn't read that particular thing from Cena, but
I know what you're doing. You're pulling a Mark Miller here and copying Kim and Kim, but making it good.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. Joe edited Kim and Kim, Doc.
I know. I'm fucking with him. Jesus, that's a bad joke.
I know. But no, it's but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It was great hearing from a bunch of people. Got messages or people from like Shelley Bond, Mark Wheatley, people like that reaching out to say they were happy about the news. So it's nice.
Very nice. Who else we got on the panel today? We got a great panel. We got Jim from Weird Science. How you doing, Jim?
Lovely. I'm the reason we were late, by the way. Everybody was giving you crap in the chat. I see it was me. My stupid computer and stupid me is basically it. But thank you for having me once again. I'm all excited, and maybe I'll actually talk more this time. Maybe.
Well, it's a good thing you're still here. You almost killed yourself with a computer.
I know, my computer caught on fire. And also had 2 root canals this week, just to throw that in. So there you go. I'm not having a great week.
I'm having a fantastic week.
That's good.
Evil Black Cat mentions it here. He says, "Happy birthday to Thinking Critical son." Actually, it's sons. 2 of my boys have birthdays tomorrow. We're gonna have a big celebration. We got a venue rented, and we've got 2 whole hogs that we're getting roasted. We're gonna have enough food for too many people, so we should be having a good time, and definitely want to say happy birthday to my 2 little boys, and we're gonna have a nice time. So appreciate you keeping them in your thoughts there, Evil Black Cat. Well, we got Yul Carter. You were the talk of the comic book industry this week. You actually made it into a bleeding cool article.
Not really.
Oh my God.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
They did too. They mentioned you.
They didn't mention me. They just said that I had a guest on Tuesday. Pink Cat, for those of you that are out there. Wes made a video on it, so many more of you saw it that way, and probably much more entertaining than me interviewing a person. Yeah. But there were comic luminaries in chat, so you might want to go back and watch it just for that. I do make fun of them, or at least one of them, so it was worth it, and it was during a CGC unboxing, so you gotta love that. But yeah,
watch my video. There's a link at the end directly to the Yul Carter interview, so you can catch my stuff and his video with both. A little co-promotion.
I'll tell you what. Even better, next Tuesday at 8 West Coast time, I'm gonna have a buddy of mine, Rick Worley. He does these Star Wars videos. He's done other videos also, and he really puts together an amazing argument. And the argument he's making for this one is that the Star Wars remakes are the Star Wars movies, so you got to just deal with it. And he put the work in.
Man, well, good luck with that one. I don't think that one's going to go over very well, but Josh has a question for you, Yul. He wants to know, is Pink Cat cool?
Pink Cat seemed pretty cool. She's young. So I'm not in that, I shouldn't be judging who's cool.
You're not the arbiter of cool?
I think she was pretty cool. She had the thing about her is that she takes other people's art and she appropriates it. But a lot of her defense often is about appropriation throughout the world and all sorts of other things that are way worse. And I'm like, that's kind of like not really the argument, I think.
You might be,
but she puts her spin on stuff, and art is. I can look through my comic store right now, and I can see so many lifts all the time. John Byrne isn't getting paid for that X-Men 142 cover.
Yeah.
How many people paid homage to the two farmers with the pitchfork and the barn behind them, and put their spin on it, and then sold it as art or on a T-shirt?
For sure.
Well, and even to piggyback on that some more, like how many times has like Greg Land been accused of tracing?
Greg Land, you didn't see the outrage.
Did he compensate those ladies in their O face?
Ow.
But the thing is like Greg Land does get a lot of shit on from social media or comic book people. But Joelle Jones pretty much skated by with her Wonder Woman bit.
Yeah.
People talked about it, but it was gone.
That blew over.
But even though people will give someone like Greg Land shit, deserved or not, that's a different discussion. But
doesn't get booted.
You would not see people rallying around and pressuring a convention to disinvite him from,
like they did with Pink Cat.
Yeah, you would never see that.
Yeah, I mean, look. Now, there's the argument to be made that tracing porn, in the case of Greg Land, is different than tracing someone else's art. But I don't really see her tracing. She uses vaguely similar poses and then totally changes it. So...
Yeah,
there's certainly some tracing going on, but it's not good tracing.
There is,
and then she puts her own artistic spin on it.
Yeah, and it's very, very minimal in my opinion. Like no more different than anybody that uses photo referencing or other references for. I mean, shit. What didn't Salvador LaRocca basically do his entire Aliens run just posing fucking?
Dude,
like toys.
I remember when he was like it was during when the program was on, he was drawing Sawyer from Lost,
Yeah.
I mean, it was Sawyer. And then I start looking, oh well, this is this person from this and this person from that, and well, at least he gets a monthly done.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
12 straight issues.
I
saw
feel
someone
like
use Mark Strong's face as Lex Luthor. These things happen.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. What else we got here? We got Josh. What do you got going on? Anything going on in the world of Batman?
God, no. Not anything good, anyways.
Are you ready for Dark Crisis?
I'm going to try not to drop an F-bomb like 10 minutes in, so I'll just say no. I'm not ready for Dark Crisis at all. Joe, why are you making a sad pouty face?
Because I have thought. Anyway, keep.
He loves the F word, that's why.
I just want to say that this morning I am in a Doc and Jim sandwich, and I couldn't be happier because it's Gay Pride Month. Hey, girl, hey. I tried to find something gay to wear, and I don't have anything, unfortunately.
It's fine, Josh. You're sexy enough as is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like
if
it.
I had hair, I'd whip it around that a little bit.
Well, so we got Doc returning. You were domesticated last weekend and unavailable to talk about nerd stuff. What is supposed to be a passion? So you could spend time with the lady, huh?
Yeah, I had girlfriend had some stuff going on, so I'm like, I could skip a week. It's fine.
Sell out?
Yeah. What, you think I'm gonna just deny it? Like, yes, I sold out. Oh no, I'm gonna go do something else for a day.
Weak sauce. You need to be. This needs to be in your planner every.
Hey, we're gonna go to Three Rivers Con tomorrow, and she's coming with me, so it's fine.
Oh, all right. So if you're at Three Rivers Con and you see a lady and she looks like she's in distress, and there's a a nerd with a big beard next to her,
guy who shouldn't be near.
Doc. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, look for
good stuff. We do have some super chats in here. I want to say thank you very much to Cal Mile for wishing my sons a happy birthday. I really appreciate that. We've also got Doc getting in on the good thoughts for the boys. Really appreciate that. Cal Mile referencing what Yule's going to be talking about this week, I believe on Tuesday. It's not going to go over with Star Wars fans.
Well, check it out.
You have to go see the video to see what's going on. But I don't believe that will go over all that well.
Controversies, Wes.
I like you leading into the controversies. Maybe I'll make a video about it.
Controversy creates cash.
Absolutely. That's right. I'm the Eric Bischoff of Comic Book YouTube. Lane Kramer, the latest Doc is Right episode. Let's go.
Welcome to the Doc is Right show.
Jesus, Lane Kramer's already trolling the show. All right, buddy. We'll see. Doc's going to make him an ass of himself within the first 30 minutes, guaranteed.
I already
did. Lyle. Good news. Don't believe all women. Also, The Boys season 3. After watching that episode, I bet Tina Grace wish she wrote Ant-Man. I don't watch The Boys. What's that mean?
The Boys.
That was all over the place there.
That was all over the place.
You're getting too much info.
We got the Johnny Depp thing, and then I'm assuming The Boys season 3 is the Tina Grace Ant-Man thing.
You had a character going in a penis. What you had. There you go. That's what happened, and then exploded. It's crazy. Exploded. Yes. Yeah.
So wow, that's just like a pop culture bukkake in one.
Yep. See, this is why I was here to let you know there was a guy in a penis. So that's pretty much what it was.
See, I heard guy in a penis, and I'm like, need to watch that. I heard
it was not as sexy.
I'm good.
Not as sexy as I portrayed it, though. Actually.
All right, let's get to the big events this week. Obviously, Joe Quesada leaving Marvel would have been the very big event. It sounds like he's retiring. Maybe he was forced out. I'm not really sure. I think if he was fired or forced out, Joe, I think he would have been put on some type of do not compete thing and would have had a severance package. So I think he probably just ran out his contract or something.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't entirely his decision. Like his contract could have been up and they could have been like, all right, see ya. And I mean, he was definitely on the higher end of being paid. I think you and Perch and some others have talked about this for over a year at this point of like, hey, if they're going to be looking for people to exit the company, Quesada's on the top of that list because he's been there for over 2 decades. He's probably on the high end of the payroll with everything he's been involved in, but he also, in comics at least, doesn't have a very clear footprint in what's going on. That stuff's more CB, Tom Brevoort, things like that. And with Kevin Feige kind of consolidating that power as also whatever the chief creative officer, whatever that title is over Marvel, it's like, well, when you're looking at redundancies, that's just like Quesada's clearly a redundancy as far as that goes.
Well, I don't think Joe has had a new contract. I think he was still on the same contract as he was when he was still CCO. Yeah. And he essentially got a demotion to an SVP position. But he was still getting paid C-suite salary. So more than likely, it wouldn't shock me if, it was contract time. They came back with an SVP level, offer sheet for him, and he didn't like the pay cut because it would have been a significant. Yeah, it would have been a significant pay cut.
All right, besides that, Doc, let's talk about Joe Quesada and what he did at Marvel. Sure. He made some mistakes along the way, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But there's no denying that he was in charge of, he was the guy that cultivated the last great era of Marvel comics. You got the original era, like in the 60s, where all the cool stuff happened after Fantastic Four. You got the Shooter era, and then you got that Quesada era at the end of the 90s, into the early, or I'm sorry, at the end of the 90s into the early 2000s.
Well, from 2000, I think it was. Yeah. It was either 99 or 2000 that he took over completely. I mean, look, the guy did recover the industry in a lot of ways. He led Marvel out of bankruptcy. He got them more settled when it came to sales. Yes, the settling was a little lower than where it was before, but it was a lot less volatile. There was a lot less volatility in direction. There was a more clear vision. Like the end of the Bob Harris era and into when they had 4 EICs, one for each of the divisions. Like that was a very, very kind of convoluted. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on. There was no cohesion across the universe. Joe managed to kind of put some sort of continuity back into the comics across lines. You know, he instituted the dead is dead policy, which worked for a significant period of time. And a lot of the stuff that came near the end of the right around 2010, which was right around the time that he left the EIC position and handed it over to Axel Alonso. A lot of the stuff for the next year or two was still a lot of the leftovers of Quesada's reign. He did bring in a phenomenal amount of talent that otherwise would have never worked for Marvel. And he I guess you could say he rebuilt some bridges with other creators that had previously worked for Marvel, and that, you know, Shooter or Bob Harris or Tom DeFalco might have kind of burnt. He rebuilt some bridges there, and you know, it was rather impressive. But I think the end of his tenure kind of brought the line back to almost the point where he started. Because I'll be honest, everything though he ended, I think AVX was about the last thing that he was seriously involved in, and honestly, that is about the end of the modern Marvel universe. Everything after that has been essentially mostly shit.
What do you call it? The Disney then? The Disney Marvel universe?
Yeah.
You know? Because like that's where you kind of get those Fox owning X-Men, so we're gonna like devalue the product a bit during that time. I think
not really doing anything with Fantastic Four.
Yeah, you're 3 years into the Marvel as a pop culture brand instead of a comic book company. Because what was it? 2009 was Iron Man, or was it 2008?
2008.
8. Okay, and 2009 was the Disney purchase.
Yeah.
But 2012 was Avengers, and like the Avengers movie. So that's kind of when Disney started actually paying attention.
Yeah, because that's when they split up the FF and did the whole that
Future
Matt Fraction
Foundation
run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They killed Johnny, and yeah, they fucked with the FF. But that's also when Ike kind of realizing that the Marvel brands could be, you know, billion-dollar entities on their own. That's when he started getting really pissed about the deals that he had made selling off rights in the 90s to, you know, Spider-Man and the X-Men and Ghost Rider and Fantastic Four to other studios.
Yeah.
He basically took it out on the reader because he had seller's remorse.
Yeah, but you know, obviously Joe Quesada had a lot of stuff going on there. So Jim, whenever you bring up Joe Quesada, when I put my video up there about him leaving, people still can't get over one more day.
Yep,
it was on the top of their mind.
Yeah, and even in the chat right now, that's all people really think about, and that's the problem. Is he did a ton of great things that we talked about, the idea of things going on. And can you hear me now? Am I having problems with my mic?
It's Joe.
Okay. So what I'm saying, he did a lot of great things, as you said. I mean, he did pretty much the last great era of Marvel. The problem is, most of the things that people remember him for now are the bad things like One More Day, and also just a lot of other things, writing for the trade, things like that have really screwed comics in general. So you don't even have
coming up a lot.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Marvel fan or a hater just to hate some of the things he did because of that. And that's what seems to be what's on people's minds. So that idea of them having him leave now, whether it's him leaving, not wanting to take a pay cut or whatever, the time has come for him to leave. The negatives have outweighed, all the great positives that he did, because time goes on and people remember hateful things, it seems. But, people hate, and that's that. And it's One More Day, even with, say, the Nick Spencer run recently, hinting at getting rid of it, and then they don't. And then it just brings back Joe Quesada and One More Day. It just sucks. It really does. And I wish that this would mean, it's like Dan DiDio. You get rid of him, and at the end, that's all you could hear is how much hate. And at points, it's time for people to move on.
I consider M-Day not as bad as other people do, because it was fixing a lot of the unintended consequences that Morrison created in his.
Might have been too many mutants.
Well, yeah, there was. Well, all the fucking Morlocks got actually considered mutants now, and Xavier's school, the overall function of it, there was kind of an implied, hey, we're only going to actually take useful mutants, and I'm only going to pay for your entire life and your room and board, and food, and you never have to work or have a job. You just have to save the world, only if you're fucking useful. And Morrison brought in a shit ton of mutants that were completely useless.
Hi, boy.
Also, as an aside,
no, that was
Joe Quesada online has been just a dick to fans too. So you throw that in as well. I mean, he's not been the greatest, PR guy himself either. So that too.
Joe worked best filtered through the media. He was I'll be honest, he was the more aggressive Stanley. In that he was a huge carnival barker. He was absolutely Marvel's biggest cheerleader. As long as he didn't have to directly interact one-on-one with fans, because that's when his dick side showed up.
My goodness. Got a little doc in him. That's what we say. So you have a comic book shop, Fantastic Comics in Berkeley, California. Did anyone notice? Did anyone care that Joe Quesada left?
No, we didn't really talk about that. New Comic Book Day. I don't even know. Was it on Thursday when he quit? I'm not even sure which day.
I think it was like the beginning of the week, right?
Oh, was it the beginning of the week? Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah. You're right. But I had Pink Cat on my mind, so I couldn't care about that.
That's dirty.
Yeah. Keep it HR appropriate. We're not talking about pink kitties here. Jesus.
I'll tell you what. I worked at a very successful comic store when Joe Quesada started up. When I worked there, he was still finishing up Daredevil, and he was doing the whole Marvel Knights bit. But when he got the big gig, whatever he did to make it happen, Marvel was doing some pretty. It was really awesome to be able to read Marvel comics as an older reader. If you still buy comics, but you get out of superheroes or mainstream comics, you have, back then it was kind of lamer Image, independent books you could read, or you could go like Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly. Some Oni was maybe a little bit more prevalent. There were some other companies out there, and that was what you would read. But the thing that was really cool about what was going on at Marvel was that creators that did all that stuff were actually doing things at Marvel, and Marvel was doing titles that were. It felt like it felt like they were trying to reach out to those people, like say, "Hey, we got really cool superhero comics, and we can do some things." Personally, I think like Ecstatics. Anytime I could see Duncan Fegredo, Mike Allred all the time, and then like Paul Pope for an issue. I never thought I would see Paul Pope be able to, ever do a Marvel comic. And that's what Joe Quesada, Ted McKeever. I mean,
oh yeah,
this is Vertigo, this is a Marvel team up, Ultimate Marvel team up. And we're getting all these really crazy names. Spider-Man's Tangled Webs was an amazing series. Just so many great things. I know how people have a problem with One More Day.
Garth Punisher.
Obviously. Yeah, the Punisher funny, Punisher serious, all that stuff was really great. I saw somebody in comments say they devalued the artist and kind of propped up the writer. I think with Quesada being, kind of like the Jim Lee, like I'm the art guy, whether or not I'm going to work on a book, I'm the art guy. I think that was important, but you got Bendis kind of helping lead the way. I know, but it was very successful for a long time. And even with One More Day, I got to give it to him. He did some. We'll never see that again in mainstream comics. How's that?
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the Marvel Knights stuff. I mean, for a while, at that point, for years, like Daredevil and Punisher, whether people like what was going on in the mid '90s or not, like the Punisher kind of got silly, Daredevil got silly and like directionless for a while, and he came in and sort of set the tone, and people still talk about those runs and moving forward, and that was really important for the longevity of those characters.
And I mean, you look at the Avengers. I mean, for as much shit as Avengers Disassembled gets, that title had been completely and utterly useless and throwaway, filled with throwaway characters that nobody gave a shit about since Heroes Were Born.
Doc, I sold the shit out of those Avengers. And I mean, reprints and having to have them all up, and then new Avengers started up. And another thing that Joe Quesada did was he did the connecting event storyline thing very well. You go from one to the other, House of M, Secret Invasion, and then everything falls apart. Or not Secret Invasion, Civil War, but you have a bunch of those and it connects throughout, and it starts with the Avengers Disassembled, a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, it started with that and Astonishing. Yeah. Launching new Avengers, launching Astonishing. That's,
we do have some comments, obviously, from the viewers. Let's see what they have to say. Darth Bobcat, Doc, that's my secret. I always make an ass of myself. That's
correct.
Doc. So he's living up to expectations. Callum Lyle, do you really think he wrote that thing? I imagine he's talking about Joe Quesada's letter leaving Marvel Comics. I bet he has a lawyer that wrote that. He's successful enough that he probably has a lawyer on retainer and stuff, Yeah. That would be my take on that one. That's why it was probably so boring. Wraith X7, most of the things currently wrong with Marvel Comics started under Quesada and Gemis, so good riddance. He's kind of got a point there. As much as we like what he did, Yule, he did start with the right for the trades kind of thing. It was a lot about deconstruction there at the end and whatnot. And he did set Marvel down a path where they were really relying on more indie type talents, doing more indie type stories in Marvel that kind of ruin the house style, and where it feels unique when you come in and do a story here and there. When it kind of takes over the line, like, does Marvel even have an identity anymore?
It's tough. I mean, you want to be super successful. You want to light a firecracker, right? Little firecrackers don't last long. So maybe like the first 10, 12 years of his, I mean, we're counting his Marvel Knights time also, but when he was really in charge and we were getting all that great stuff, I mean, it was such a boom. I mean, I remember selling comics. I mean, selling even as people said they hated what was going on, they were reading it. Oh no, not another event. Yeah, you don't know.
Happy money is just as good as unhappy money, as long as they're coming in and buying their comic books, right?
Well, I mean, it was exciting, and again, being able to see people. I love when someone comes and does their take on a character. Maybe not necessarily when they come in and just like, shit all over it because, they're ex-creator. But especially when it's an illustrator, we talk about all the writers that came in, but so many different illustrators came in to try, to ply their trade with Spider-Man or X-Men or whoever it may be. And there was an avenue for that. And it feels like when Grant Morrison left, it started like, kind of going downhill for that for the most part. But boy, it was an awesome firecracker.
Well, no, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say some of the bigger problems really, you could probably say started more under like DeFalco and Bob Harris, like in terms of problems that are still plaguing us today that drive me up the wall. Someone mentioned like Operation Galactic Storm, like the really convoluted events that tied into weird stuff that just took things in needless directions was happening before Quesada, and doing spin-off series until you've driven your entire franchise into the ground was also before Quesada got there, and we are still plagued by both of those things, like to this day. And those
they went back to it.
Yeah, those are like writing for the trade. While I do agree it's bad, there have been examples of that doing really well. But some of this other stuff that predates Quesada has still been a gigantic problem that we seem to be unable to remove ourselves from.
Or unwilling.
Yes.
We'll see. 3D says, you don't get paid for what you did. You get paid for what you did lately. And his late resume is everything but stellar. You got a point there, Doc. What is he? He became the villain of his own story there at the end.
He did. He started being unnecessarily antagonistic with his existing buyer base instead of just being antagonistic to, because you know what, when he was the guy that was
DC.
Yes, when he was antagonizing DC, when he was antagonizing Paul Levitz and Dan Didio, or even Jim Lee, there was some degree of playful fun there and competition. Now it's I'm still this guy that needs to antagonize people. I mean, he's a fucking New Yorker. What do you expect? But we're in the modern Marvel. We're in the Marvel comics industry, and it can't be anything but the Mutual Admiration Society. So who the fuck do I have to antagonize? Oh yeah, the people that pay my salary. That's who he decided to antagonize, and we've watched it end poorly. I mean, like, I understand sometimes, like somebody like Joe having very, very strong opinions of something like One More Day because he wanted to bring the Spider-Man back to the Spider-Man he knew when he was a kid. The problem is when your audience won't shut up about how much they hate it, maybe you got to accept that you're wrong.
Sometimes you got to eat the L, that for certain. We got Dark Admiral March here. He says, because he's not getting over, he says, no moving on from One More Day. F Joe Quesada.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, unless One More Day is retconned. And Joe won't be the one to do it.
Well, hopefully, now that he's gone, maybe there's an opportunity if he was the reason it couldn't happen before. I don't know that that's the case, but I think that's what people are hoping for. Eric O'Sullivan says, yeah, Joe Quesada set the social media tone. I don't spend my money with Marvel. Don't give money to people that hate you. How many Marvel creators have you been blocked by, and why are you still giving them money?
I don't give any
of
the
money. Soup is going at it hard in the paint.
Yeah.
I don't give any of them money if they blocked me. I might read their shit, but I damn sure ain't paying for it to do it. Fuck those guys, and I hope they end up homeless and eating cat food.
I'm over people being blocked on Twitter. It doesn't bother me.
No, I still just don't give them money.
Sometimes I find it upsetting. Like, you didn't ever say anything to them, and you want to go see more about their work.
That's the oddest part. Yeah.
That's because, like, you may not know me, but I might be buying more copies of your stuff than any one person.
Oh, yeah. Well,
like,
no.
Like, yeah, I don't give money to people that hate me either, except that I'm a comic store owner, and I do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you don't really have a choice, sir.
Well, I mean, that's my point.
Do.
You don't, when you're blocking people like that, you just, so I find it a little silly, but whatever.
It's a terrible business decision, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's just a bad business decision because I just don't I don't really pay attention much to it, but once I realize somebody's blocked me, I just kind of mentally file it away and they end up on my do not buy list. And then I kind of forget why they're on my do not buy list, but then I can always find out, and then I just still don't buy from them.
Marvel's doing better than DC, so they're doing something right in comparison, but it feels like some of that stuff has calmed down a bit as of late over the last year and a half, but
yeah, no, I would say a lot of that. Social media. I think a lot of the social media stuff's calmed down quite a bit. I think what people are forgetting about some of that stuff, because it's been a while, is it got really nasty for a while in terms of people trying to like deplatform each other, get them unable to use any form of digital currency or use PayPal or vendors, trying to take people's campaigns down, things like that. So that's and Joe Q, like when people are talking about saying the social media tone, in terms of that stuff, he really didn't seem to go that far with anyone. So I do think it's like, like putting it in perspective. I mean, I think people, we talk about some of these things, but it hasn't gotten like that in a while. And that's a good thing. And we should be happy. And a lot of the things that people are, talk about or upset them now, it's like, go back a few years, 2, 3, 4 years. It was awful. I personally know, like, look, there are plenty of people that say things are like, oh, someone's harassing me, this and that. And, maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not. I'm not going to get into that part. But, and that's for anyone on whatever side. But I personally knew multiple people who, they didn't talk about it publicly or not talk about it much, were doxxed, had to leave the state they were in because they did not feel safe, that people found not public pictures. I know one person who found their wedding pictures and videos were like posted on forums. And, and these are people who, people make videos about them on a regular basis. I'm not pinpointing any particular channel. It's just a thing that happens. And it's, so when you do see people getting upset about this stuff, and some of them are the usual suspects, like, it was really bad. And some of them had really horrible things happen to them like that. And I do think it's like, sometimes we have to be a little understanding about how, people react to these things, even if we think they're overreacting and they're wrong. So
we've also got Brian Borden. Civil War sins past one more day and driving away John Byrne are part of Joe's tarnished legacy. Look, Josh, you think we're getting John Byrne back? He's doing X-Men on Patreon.
No, I don't think we will. Who knows? Look, at this point, who knows? I'll just put it that way.
I know CB's talked to him, right?
Yeah. Outside of that, I would just say, like, I think it's very easy for us in like recency bias to remember a lot of the bad things. I think as you move away from this, just history in general tends to be kind to people. And I think the one thing that they won't be kind to is one more day. Outside of that, what?
No, outside of that, one more day is not being forgotten. At least like past got retconned.
It's going to be the one thing that sticks with Joe. But I think as time passes, a lot of what he did.
I like Civil War.
Yeah, I think a lot of what he did is going to be remembered fondly. So, I mean, it's easy for us to kind of point out the negative now, but as we look back, things kind of just our anger towards things kind of fades.
Mm-hmm.
Except Wraith X7 says, I'm probably in the minority, but I hated the creative direction Marvel took under Quesada. Certainly not at the end, but I think there for a while, like right in the middle.
I remember a lot of angry letters. When they put letters in comic books, there were things they used to do.
There were a lot of angry letters, but I think that you remember how Tom Brevoort has that stupid saying, an angry reader is an engaged reader?
Yeah.
I think a lot of that came from the lessons he learned as Joe's kind of right hand, because while Joe managed to piss off readers but keep them buying, for the most part, except for maybe Spider-Man readers. That's, I think, where he went. Well, I think that's
another
the case
thing is like
far.
swiping comics online wasn't as easy then as it is now. Also,
that is a good point. But in the mid 2000s, you could still do it relatively easy. You were just torrenting instead of going to a website.
Sure.
But regardless, the problem is all of those things, all of the things that Joe innovated in some way and brought into Marvel Comics, be it the indie creators doing an indie style on mainstream superhero books, antagonizing the fans and really making changes, like big sweeping changes to the universe. Everyone that's left there since, be it Axel that followed him up, CB now, all the editors, fucking Jordan White, Tom Brever, the rest of the Legion of Doofuses, all the clown assistant editors there, they all believe that was a sustainable model and not a transitional phase, which is what it needed to be.
We got WraithX7 once again. Were Marvel Comics under Quesada selling well because people enjoyed the comics or because Marvel was catering to speculators, Yule?
No, it wasn't speculators then.
This wasn't the 90s.
It was definitely we were reading these books, man. Everybody came into the comic store and talked about what was going on.
And remember, no overprint?
Yeah, it wasn't like it is now. But like I said, they would go to second and third prints. And don't forget, DC had to up their game during this time too. They had Hush, 12 straight months of Jim Lee doing Batman. Whoa. And even if it was a flop, that's Superman. 12 straight months of Superman being drawn by Jim Lee. That's crazy. You'll never see that happen again. And, like DC, you don't get all that stuff people say they like if it wasn't for Joe Quesada over at Marvel kicking ass. And they were fighting with each other. And who's fighting now? There's so much back and forth. I don't feel like anybody's Marvel or anybody's DC.
They didn't.
I don't feel...
Well,
you know what I mean?
I mean, for courting, for the question of courting speculators, they were actually surprising people. They weren't spoiling their own stories in the media or in the comic media before they came out under
the worst was the Captain America one. They did during
they
that.
did
That's
spoil
when they
that
started
one.
doing that.
With the death of Cap.
And the truth came out during this time, and that's like different. I know there's a lot of people that don't like it, but you're never going to see that again.
Well, I guess my point here though is they weren't doing that, so they weren't artificially bumping sales on a book for speculators by spoiling it in the media. And up until around the time of the Astonishing X-Men and New Avengers launch, so like 5 years into his tenure, they didn't do variants, period, at all. And the sales were pretty solid. There were no variants, period, coming out of Marvel. Dead was dead. And they weren't spoiling anything. Honestly, I think it was that all the variant stuff, the speculator, anything that would be catering to a speculator market, all came in the second half of Quesada's reign and then got amped up to 37 under Axel Alonso.
We got Ted Olson. He says the seeds of the House of Identity politics were planted under Joe Q. You kill the House of Ideas. I find this one hard to really pin on Joe Quesada because we're seeing the identity politics literally play out on every angle, at every level of entertainment these days, Josh. I don't think that's a Marvel Comics thing. I don't think you really pin that one on Joe.
No, it's more of a generational thing and just, broad media type thing. And I think it's a situation where, if we look at this with an open mind and we look at this and actually decide to be critical, if you go back 15 years ago, saying we need more representation is an extremely valid argument to make. And I think the problem we have with that comment now is just how it happens. But identity politics, everything that goes on, it's just how we are as a society. You know, when I was younger and kind of like coming into my age or coming of age, I guess, there was this notion of you don't talk politics. And there were reasons for that. Like you kind of keep it to yourself. And I think as a society, we got out of that. And then we just started openly stating how we feel. And now we've progressed to this point where it's like, I have my stance. I'm right. You're wrong. If you don't agree with me, don't bother with me. And I think you started seeing that in forms of media, whether it's comics, television, or movies. You started seeing that in personal relationships. It's interesting, but I don't think there was a way to avoid it. I think it was going to happen, and it has to happen. And, you know, I think we're starting to see the after effects of that come out in both positive and negative ways. So
Brian Borden makes a great point. Doc is nuts. No way New Avengers is better than Busiek and Perez's Rudd. What he meant to say, Doc, is Doc is wrong.
No. He's missing my point. It's not an issue.
You're wrong, and I agree with it.
It's not an issue of whether New Avengers was better or worse. It's an issue that they didn't. I'm sorry, under Busiek and Perez, it didn't fucking sell.
Well,
I mean, it's sold all right.
It didn't blow up.
It didn't blow up, and they need Marvel. No, look, let's be perfectly honest. Marvel needed the event. They didn't have the Justice League. They knew they wanted to do their own movies eventually, but they needed a team that was on the level of the Justice League or the X-Men at Marvel. And Avengers was not that. It was the D-list characters in the B-list team. Sorry. That's what Avengers has been historically until Bendis did New Avengers.
All right. I'm still with Brian on that one. Doc is wrong. Cal Miles says, off topic, I go by DC New 53 on Twitter. Got a like and a nice conversation with Neil Gaiman, but the website, it's all BS. I know you all use it, but hey, I feel it, man. Dude, Twitter is not very fun. You know what's crazy, Jim, here is Twitter used to be people having real conversations, but almost everything that gets people going insane right now is people like mocking or putting out fake news on purpose just to make you mad.
Yep, that's what it is. I mean, you end up where, and I ended up arguing with people all week. I do all the time, but the problem is, especially with the DC deal, and you have Dark Crisis coming up, and people just see a panel and they yell about that, and then everybody joins in, and people somehow treat this as legit, almost like news of, oh, that's going to be this team, or that's that person, or they think that, and you end up seeing that the hate just perpetrates more hate, and it's even more uninformed hate. That's the worst. People can hate and like what they want, but when they're uninformed about it and just throwing it out there, it drives me nuts. And what Joe said earlier about the idea of the blocking and things like that, that's the other thing going on is, yeah, at one point it was awful. He's right. I mean, awful, both sides, everything. But now, while that might still be happening at points, all of these creators, or even people in general, they're still reacting as if somebody's saying, hey, I don't really like your comic this week, as if they've now been doxxed and they have to leave the state. They freak out and block everybody. And then people just, and then when they block them, start talking trash on them, which is the worst. But also it's weird. I mean, the idea DC right now, and it goes with the Quesada deal, DC doesn't have a spokesperson right now, somebody that can go on, social media or go anywhere and explain things in a correct way. So everybody is relying on some, Yahoo or whatever. You don't know what they know or don't know, but I end up arguing with people. They were arguing about a panel that's in a comic that won't come out for another 3 weeks. And they're arguing about the story, but they don't know the story yet. They haven't read it. They're just reacting to one thing. And, you had a thing with the 3 Jokers being shown in the Chip Zdarsky Batman coming up and people yelling, oh my God, he's stealing that. And why do we have that? Whatever. It's like one tiny little picture of the, like you almost need a magnifying glass to find it. And when the book comes out, it might just be like, man, some real crazy shit's happened lately. And you see that, but people are reacting. I mean, obviously the bisexual Batman deal, that Bleeding Cool took one panel. And it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it just drives me nuts because I try to disengage and I can't help it. And then I look like an asshole, which isn't hard to do.
That's the thing, Josh. The one thing that Twitter has that you can't really get anywhere else is as long as you subscribe to the right people, you're going to get all the breaking news and you're going to get immediate reaction from people that are interested in that. Obviously, there's going to be some trolls or whatever. So it's almost, if you have a YouTube channel, you're talking about current news and stuff, you have to be there.
Yeah, if you're going to have any type of business that you're doing, the best type of marketing you can do and also the best information source of getting things timely is going to be Twitter. So it's that cesspool that you have that give and take. I want to point out something that we kind of haven't discussed, but we're talking about Joe Quesada and the direction of his career and how it went at the end. And I think we also have to look at specifically how much social media has impacted comics, like the direction of comics, the types of stories we tell. Because if you go back to when we were saying, comics were doing well, they were kind of firing at all cylinders at the mid 2000s, social media was around, but not in a way that would influence. You didn't really have direct access to creators. You had Facebook, you had like MySpace. I think Facebook was still technically like either just moving out of its college phase or whatever, but you had MySpace predominantly, and you just interacted with your friends. In fact, to interact, people had to come to your page to say stuff, but you didn't really have access to creators. And then we created this open forum kind of through YouTube and through Twitter. And then it's like, from a business standpoint, especially when all that started coming around, you kind of took it as, oh, this is feedback that we haven't been getting. Like, we need to do something with this. And then you start reacting, not realizing at the time there's a difference between a lot of voices and the loudest voices. So I wonder, too, how much of an impact that played in what Joe Quesada did, what happened, how things have changed. And then I think we're starting to see behind the scenes or underlying some course correction here. But,
Well, I was going to point out one other aspect of social media is the way that they convince themselves that one fucking Facebook poll.
Yeah.
The 41% are readers or women poll. That all it was based on interests on their profile. That was it. And not whether or not you actually buy anything or would ever buy anything. Just you had comics as interests on their profile. And that the way that they use that to utterly and entirely change their entire publishing model. And that was under him.
We've also got WraithX7. He makes a great point here, Doc. The Avengers are not and should not be the JLA. New Avengers suck because it was trying to be the JLA. He says you're wrong, and I agree with him.
I don't disagree that they shouldn't be the JLA. You already saw what happens when the Avengers become the JLA when you read Stormwatch and then it turned into the Authority. That's what that was. You turned the Avengers into the JLA. I'm telling you that it was their attempt to make it an A-list book because I'm sorry, it was the also ran of the Marvel Universe. Fantastic Four, even though Fantastic Four was depleted by that point, was still a bigger title than Avengers has ever been.
I remember when Wizard was still around and Disassembled was about to happen, and they were talking about it or as it was happening, and Bendis said, look, there's plenty of Avengers for those of you that like Avengers to read. It's all 498 issues before mine or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you don't like this, read that.
Well,
it's very familiar.
But it was their attempt to make the Avengers as a title relevant.
And it was.
I mean, because you look at the 80s, shit, West Coast Avengers was more relevant than the primary Avengers book. I mean,
we've also got Ideator here. Sorry, I spaced out for a second. He says companies have a problem with pride. Disney calling people racist using the Disney account. Social media should only be a bulletin board. That's another weird thing about that stuff, Joe. Is obviously like the Disney account isn't run by Disney. They have they hired somebody, and it's like some moron who accidentally says something stupid or whatever. But when you see it, it says fucking Disney, so you take it as like Disney just called me an asshole.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of this stuff, it's like we would all benefit from everyone taking all of this with a grain of salt. It doesn't matter, because ultimately it's like when people say that stuff about you or whatever, it's like, if you know it's not true, who cares? Yeah, especially if it's just like, if it's not like, because we're right now talking about, like, oh, someone does like a dunk and people like it or whatever, but then they move on, and it's not a coordinated attack. It's not like people aren't calling your employer to get you fired, and like those instances, like that kind of stuff, it's like, whatever, you just got to kind of
he said he meant PR, like public relations.
Yeah,
I thought he
no,
threw out the P. I was like, pride. It didn't make sense with the statement.
No, but yeah, I mean, that's stuff like, for everyone, it's just like, and this is the other aspect of it too. It ultimately is going to get people to go to be apathetic, because what we've already seen happening is, I mean, I do this. I think a lot of us do this now. It's like, you think about something and you go back to what you used to do and be like, oh, I'll call or reach out to a friend or a family member or someone and tell them that. I'm not going to say anything public, because there's no point, because you could say something that you think is completely benign and people will come in and think the worst of you and think you have the worst intentions. And it's like, I'm done. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to put it out there. And so, so what ultimately ends up happening is situations like that, where maybe someone dunks on you from like an account and you're like, I'm just not going to talk about this anymore. And
the only corporate account out there worth following is Wendy's. I think
absolutely.
Yeah.
They're the freaking
no Steakums.
Nah, Wendy's.
Steakums is pretty good too.
Okay,
it's not Wendy's though. Wendy's. Oh, that's so good. We got Kenneth Talling in the house says, hey guys, I've enjoyed the discussion. I only know Quesada by Marvel Knights One More Day. I didn't like it, but I don't have the vitriol many have. Doc, you're missed. Hope you enjoyed your date.
I did. It was a good time. Thank you.
Are you married yet?
No.
Why not?
Because I've only been seeing this girl for like 6 months, dude.
You're no spring chicken.
Not getting any younger.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I might not be fucking getting any younger, but I'm also not jumping into fucking marriage.
I was about to say, you don't want to make a bad decision either. Like,
yes, exactly.
Jesus, that can be a nightmare.
A bad decision would be letting this woman get away, Doc. You would have locked her up into a tried and true contract. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Let me sign that contract that guarantees me nothing and guarantees her cash and prizes on the way out. No, I think I'll pass.
Get a prenup.
I'm not exactly broke.
He doesn't know what she really thinks of his comic book collection.
Lawyer on retainer, get a prenup. I don't know. You ain't getting anything except this what if last. You know what I'm saying?
Gosh.
Children.
Huh? Like, all right.
I'm with you, Doc. Take your time, man.
Yes.
Take your time.
Also, Joe Quesada did a.
Yeah, and if we learned anything from Joe Quesada, she could sell my marriage to the devil.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for having a good conversation here. We are at like just a skosh under 100 likes, but we're well over 300 people live watching this. So if you have a chance, hit the thumbs up button and let them know we're having a good conversation. We're about to move on to the next topic. I think people are going to want to talk about that. But first, I guess we got this comment from Common Sense. Has Joe Q ever apologized to Robert Kirkman? I doubt.
Think so.
I don't think they like each other.
I don't believe so. But I'll also throw out there that it's been a while since I read it, but I did like Joe Q's at the time, the Daredevil father.
I did like it.
And that, it was. I think he wrote and illustrated that one, and it was good. Yeah. Check it out if you guys haven't.
I think the biggest takeaway is that Joe did a lot of wonderful things. And he even did some things that I think but I think a lot of the other things that he's going to be known for is the things that the unintended consequences of a lot of the decisions that were probably the right decisions at the time, like Civil War, Well, I don't think anybody will ever agree that one more day was ever the right decision. But Civil War,
well, it was when
M-Day,
Peter Parker gave up his secret identity. That was the first part, really.
Yeah, but that was a Civil War problem.
That was really it.
But House of M, Civil War, Siege, Dark Reign, Secret Invasion, all of them were all right, but it's the unintended consequences and a lot of the fallout and the doors that they opened that other people weren't told don't go down those
all right, Doc, we got more information. This is big breaking news. Doc MGTOW confirmed.
No.
Dude, you got a MGTOW
I am just not getting married after only knowing someone 6 months.
Like,
I don't think that is MGTOW by any
marriage is outdated. He's beyond that. Can you believe that?
My point is, I think it might be a little.
It's no longer Doc is right. It's Doc is MGTOW.
No, Doc is not impulsive.
Doc is MGTOW. Confirmed. All right, that was fun. Thank you very much, Boga. I did enjoy busted Doc's nuggets. Let's move on to another one of these topics. We had Heather Antos go out there and was pretty much concerned trolling Renee Draws. Her name's Irene. She had a Indiegogo campaign for Fiendish, fully funded. I think she went over $50,000. Really successful. Now Heather and Irene have a relationship. I think Heather hired Irene to do some work at Marvel, and she is very upset about it. And I don't know, it didn't seem like the most professional thing in the world, but Irene went out there and kind of lambasted her. What do you think about this, Joe? As an outsider that's in comic books, you've been an editor. Mm-hmm. Should you be going out there and publicly condemning the people you've worked with that they have friends you don't like?
Well, what was it? I believe the initial bit was she wasn't calling her out specifically, and people dug, and then that happened. That she initially was just venting, which, is I think we do have to be fair here and be understanding that this is not a new position for Heather. I don't think anyone who's worked with Heather would think like, oh, you know what? If I go on a stream with EVS, she's going to be thrilled. So, I'm sure Irene understood that. Yeah, and this also comes into, are we like, there have been other instances of things like this that have been reported over the years. I think the one that really comes to mind was when Tom Brevoort really came after Tom King by name, about when he had his condolences for Doyle losing his job.
Yeah.
And so this isn't something that's entirely new or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's ultimately it's fine. This is not, we didn't learn anything new about Heather. This is exactly, and whether people like it or not, want to admit it or not, she has perfectly good reasons to not be happy about that. No one on that side has been particularly kind to her. She's been treated poorly, and she's allowed to vent that. I don't think Irene has been affected at all by this in terms of if you look at both of them on social media, they're both fine. They're both tweeting away. Irene's still doing live streams. Irene's still making money on her campaign. It hasn't hurt her. Kind of leading back to what I was saying before, there has been no calls for deplatforming or things like that. So, ultimately, it's you can be annoyed, but it's why? This because again, it's nothing new. It's not.
I'll tell you what I get annoyed about is that.
I mean,
it's so upsetting to go to a convention and see your hero. Blah 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 blah. And it's just oh, who are you talking about? And it's you are engaging so that other people will wonder. And you know what? Since you didn't say who you're upset about, I'm going to find out all the people I should be throwing mud at now. Yeah. Oh, well, who did she know? And I'm not even talking about Heather now, but who did this person know? Oh, this person's been shitty. Maybe they're talking about this. And then it's like this whole string of all these other, maybe not, again, not this time necessarily, but I just can't stand when people gloss over who they're talking about. And I mean, I could run a whole list of names all over Twitter and, fill in the blank. It's no secret, who these people are that do this type of stuff. But I just can't. Look, man, Obama, just tell me which Republican you hate, okay? Stop.
Yeah. The thing with Heather.
I mean, Heather, tell me who you hate.
No. I hate that kind of stuff too. But,
I was just going to say the thing with Heather Antos, like you said, it's not surprising at all. She would be upset at where, Renee went, but I would have been more pleasantly surprised if she just didn't say anything instead of coming out and saying that when it's just somebody trying to make a living. I mean, if this was something where you're working for her at that point and then she goes and does it, then there's an issue. Then you come out and say, hey, I don't. And even then behind closed doors, probably. But to come out on social media and say it, no matter what, if it's surprising or not, it still felt like an attack. And it felt like something where she was trying to lessen what Renee's doing overall, because even Renee said, you haven't talked to me in years. And that's what kind of upsetting about it. It's not, like I said, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I don't think anybody would be, but it just sometimes maybe try to surprise us on the opposite side and just let that one go. And, maybe talk to Renee in person, which she said DMs, but seemed like it was more of like threats or something like that. It's just kind of upsetting overall, because it just keeps that train rolling. The train keeps rolling, and I don't know when it will stop because of this stuff, because then both sides start fighting again.
I think my take on it is I'm with Joe. I think you can 100% have your personal feelings about someone potentially going and doing something on a show or through a platform that you like vehemently disagree with or that you think is bad. You're allowed to have those personal feelings. What I dislike about this is kind of what Jim was just talking about. It's how she went about it, because the way she made her comment and the fact that she didn't go to, is it Irene or is it Renee?
Maybe it is. Is it Irene? Probably.
I've slept since then. This shows you how much thought process I put into it, because I just don't care. I try to stay away from drama. But what I will say is she made Heather made her post, and the way she made it honestly came across as an attempt to get some bandwagoning going, but also as a way to almost manipulate. And that's what I don't like. And it's not even just like a shame on you, Heather thing. It's just a general comment. Like, I don't like when people do this. And, Jimmy Palmiotti came in the comments and he tried to look. I love Jimmy. Jimmy is honestly and genuinely one of my favorite creators, because he's always taken time to talk to me. And as I've gotten to know him, he just tries to share his experience so people don't make some of the mistakes that he made as an individual and as a person. And he posted in that tweet and said, hey, in these situations, I try to, and it was very much his way of saying, I see you and I understand your stance. However, you're going about this the wrong way. And I think that's where we are. Like, if Heather felt this way, genuinely, she should have gone to them directly. She should have said something directly. If you consider someone a friend, you owe them that. I think good friendships are friendships where you're not afraid to say, hey, I disagree with this, but you have to be mature enough to move on. And I think that the response back to Heather's post is completely valid. Hey, you're saying we're friends. You're saying you're here for me. You're saying you're this and that, but you haven't been here for me. We haven't talked. I tried to get support from you and you didn't support me. And guess what? I have a mouth to feed and I have bills to pay, and I'm going to try to do what I can do. And that's what she did. I also would like to, I had this idea too, that sometimes the best thing you can do is have a conversation with someone that you completely disagree with. And I think we've gotten to this point as a society where if someone even has like a remotely different stance than us, we completely shut them out. We talked about this whole blocking and canceling and whatever.
Yep.
But, you know, I don't agree with a lot of what Ethan Van Sciver does. I don't agree with a lot of what he says. But I do think somewhere at some point you can find value there. And I think when we're in a society where everyone is so divided, and you've got comic fans that are so divided, and politically you're so divided, get two opposing viewpoints to come and have a discussion. And hopefully, if you're a decent human being, you're going to say things that each person doesn't agree with, but if you can be respectful, you can kind of have a conversation around that. And it seems, I haven't watched the interview, I don't know, but it seems like that's kind of what happened, because she even stated, like, I don't always agree with this person, but we have a passion for the same medium. We want to do good work, and that's what we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, it was another creator seeing another creator and trying to help them out. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Whether you agree or disagree with her platform, it's exposing her book to a different audience. And I think that was her goal. So
yeah.
That's also really generous, though, because like the way you said that towards the end there, it's like you don't get invited on that stream out of the goodness of his heart, and he's just trying to help someone out. It's like, just like anyone else, it's because this benefits him. Oh, you're one of Heather's friends, and you check these boxes. Come on the show.
Yeah, I think she knew that. And you go with it.
No. But like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's fine, but let's be real, and that's what it was.
I'm not. No. You're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he was the one out of the goodness of his heart. I'm saying that she understood that this is an audience that I don't have access to, that might actually buy my book, and I think that was her mindset. Look, and this is why I said I don't agree with half of what he does. I think intention matters. And at the end of the day, I might make choices to do something with someone, and I might not like them, and I might know for a fact that their intentions are not good. But if it benefits me in the long run, and I'm able to make a living or create, she's described this as her passion project. I have scripts that I have been sitting on for decades, and if I had a chance to do them and get them out, I would. And if that meant I had to go on a channel of someone I didn't like, I mean, look, I'm here on Wes's channel every freaking weekend. I mean, come on.
Sure. Absolutely.
If I had a chance to do it, I would go ahead and do it. And my generalization, yes, it was a generalization. I'm saying that because I hope people can stop being so petty. And look, again, there are things that have been said that if you have a problem with them, that is fine. But if someone else is able to look past it as a means to elevate their life and move their life forward and gain some success, don't hate them for it. Hate them for what they say or do. And if this is a deal breaker for you, then it's a deal breaker for you. Don't back the project. Don't buy their stuff.
Yeah.
Just I mean, I don't understand why we're having these conversations. I don't think the tweet should have happened. I think it's fine to express, you know, I wish people wouldn't. And you know, you can say like I had expected more from them, but you also have, if you do that on a public forum, you've got to be open that you're going to get backlash because people will disagree.
And when you do that and you get public backlash, don't be surprised when the target of your tweet tells you to go fuck off publicly.
Yeah, that's
that's fine. Look, yeah, I mean, if someone calls you out,
there's this whole thing in comics of this, like, I'm not going to work with someone because I don't like them. Like, get in the fucking real world. Do you know how many people I work with at my job and previous jobs that there are probably 5 people in this world that I would say I absolutely hate. Like, I hate them with a passion. I cannot stand them. I don't want to be around them. 3 to 4 of them are people that I've had to work with, and they were superiors of mine. Not even direct superiors, just above me in companies. And I didn't like them because I thought they were terrible people. But guess what? I had to fucking work with them. Like there's so much. I think as in general, we need to grow up, and it's fine to say you disagree with something. It's fine to say I dislike that they did this, but we have to just take it, let it roll off our backs, and keep going.
I mean, I find it mostly amusing that Heather has shown her industry influence impotence out of this, though, because basically, in the past, she probably would have been able to scare people into backtracking into, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
Like
making some groveling fucking apology. But guess what? Karen Antos is fucking impotent now.
All right, so we do have some. We have a lot of people talking about this. We definitely have a lot of super chats. Cal Mile, yours is just a little too dirty, so I'm not going to put it up on the screen because it's probably offensive. But he says, essentially Heather Antos needs to get up. Oh, there we go. Common Sense says Heather Antos is the Amber Heard of comics.
That's
like not a really good comparison.
I don't know if she's beat anybody up or pooped in their bed.
Yeah, we're talking about physical abuse here.
But as much of a liar, maybe.
Look, what I will say is Heather Antos is very vocal, and there is nothing wrong with that. But she has probably helped many people's careers. She's probably done many things right. It's easy for us to come in and say what we dislike, but there's so much behind the scenes in these companies that we don't know about, right? Like there's plenty.
So sounds like she's helping Irene Draws too.
Well, I'm sure she's making more money from it.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I was gonna say if there was any benefit that came out of this, it was for Irene or Renee or whatever her name is. Like she's gonna get a boost in sales because of this. So and look, if anything, look, that's it. We'll just leave it at
the thing is, I think everybody's become desensitized to a lot of the things that Heather Antos says anyway. So it's just people talking, and most of the thing, it's there goes Heather, and it's not great. But like Joe said, she's done this. It's not surprising. So there you go. And you have to just decide at this point whether you listen or not. And a lot of people aren't listening. So it just kind of rolls over.
What I will ask. Go ahead.
Do women ruin everything? I would say absolutely not.
No, but 30-something white liberal women do.
Oh my God,
Doc, you're not married. You can't.
Yes.
Get married. Next comment.
Next.
What's going
on? Come on, Callum. My life's so much better. It's not even funny. Women make everything better.
I'm going to give Doc one of my 5 kids, and then you'll see how bad it can be. So
kids are great, man.
Are they
awesome?
Here's the question: Are your wives 30-something white liberal women?
Probably.
No. All right. My point fucking stands.
There's a lot of really nice white ladies out there, Doc. Wolfstein 3D. Antos making business decisions based on political party lines explains why she needs to reach out to followers to replace her notebook. A lot of people are having. I don't think comic book editors get paid a whole lot, especially even if you're the senior editor from IDW. I don't know what her financial situation is, but yes, she did ask for help replacing her laptop, but she did offer, drawings and stuff. She was commissioning.
Yeah, she did commissions or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Callum Lyle says, "Who or what does Heather think she is? Does she and Fat Dan Slott and Karen Whisper Never think they're the law enforcement of comics? Everybody thinks of the morality police nowadays. That's not.
But just with in regards to that, like notebook, that computer, and all that she needed to be replaced. Some jobs, I don't know 100% if this is the case, but I've had jobs like this where you waive taking a computer from the office and you get a $500 check or whatever to use your own computer. That might have been the case. And then it's like, oh, now I have to replace it because it's my work. Like, just to give some idea of why something like that might happen, because I haven't had to replace a computer in that situation, but I've had jobs where, that's sort of been what's happened.
My computer caught on fire this week, and I have to get my ass to Best Buy and buy one. And I have 5 kids and no job, so I was able to do that.
No, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say,
very inappropriate.
But she did do commissions. There wasn't a GoFundMe for.
I'll do commissions. I'll dance or something. I'll do some.
Heather,
OnlyFans.
Heather can do it.
You're going somewhere bad with that, Doc. That's fine. But there's a lot of people that think that the morality police. In a lot of different places. It's just one of the weird things that's happened with social media. Like that's something everybody I think gets off on is kind of looking at other people and judging them nowadays. So.
I will say again, my issue with this isn't her stance. Like, you can have your stance. I applaud people for standing firm in what they believe is right or wrong, and we're not going to agree, and we're not always going to agree. My stance is just how she did it. But by all means, you have a right and a platform to say what you believe, and she did. I just don't think she went about this specific issue the right way.
I agree.
Well, it sounds like there's some disingenuous parts of it where she's claiming that this is a friend, and she kind of fills in some of the facts. She's like, you haven't spoken to me in years.
Yeah. When you stepped away, I commented to that, and the fact that it came out that there was some disingenuousness to it made it seem like it was almost manipulative, and that's where I take issue. But by all means, if you believe something, stand firm in your belief. Like, I will always support you in that.
And Cal Lyle says, I remember Mark Wade doing something similar. Also, didn't she go after Todd McFarlane weeks back? I don't remember going after Todd McFarlane. I would have done a video if I knew about it.
Oh, no, that was he had made. Didn't he make a joke or something in a live stream?
About making toys for boys and girls and stuff.
The line that you could only do like if like 1 out of every 4, so like you couldn't do a line of just it was something like that,
because they don't get sold.
It's how McFarlane's been in the toy business for a while.
The multimillionaire toy man might know something about making fucking toys.
Ideator says Renee did several EVS streams prior to this. Bad week for clout chasers, Antos and Williams. And then Mark Brooks chimes in. There was no offense committed, just to justify public shaming.
It's Mark Brooks needing to be fucking relevant.
Well, that's the problem. Yeah, you end up where maybe if we had some better comics, people would focus on that. I think that maybe the overall state of comics is that these stories are more interesting to get distracted by.
This is because Mark Brooks is too fucking bored because he doesn't have enough work to do, because the only thing he does is a connecting cover for an X-Men book once a year.
The wet covers always look quite nice and shiny. Who else we got? Eric O'Sullivan. What Antos did Renee was BS, mean girl antics. I can't buy IDW since they hired her. Why support it? Which stinks for me because I want to support Livio's Killlock too. Opposite of fun. Well, I don't think she has anything to do with the Killlock, so I'm definitely supporting that thing. That's a damn good comic book. I believe Antos is only really associated with Star Trek right now. She's
also they're doing some more stuff for the book market, and she's been involved in acquiring books that seem like they're more in line with stuff like March and the Call Us Enemy. So
the ones that made a money outside of
so it seems like
last
been,
and stuff. So
it seems like she's been working on that, but also she is editing some stuff like was it Bloodstained Teeth at Image, which is a book that has some heat behind it. Christian Ward is I think he's doing the covers or some of the covers and the story, but the art, even though he's not on it's good. It's 2 issues in. I'm enjoying that book. She's having something else at Image too, but yeah, I mean she's got some stuff out there.
If I stopped supporting every publisher that hired someone that bothered me, I wouldn't be able to cover comic books at this point. So.
Oh yeah, I think that would be.
But
true
I think people should spend their money the way that they want to spend money. I'm just explaining the way that I handle my own self. I don't like Mark Wade, but there's no way I'm skipping World's Finest. It's the best comic book out there.
I will. Fuck his old bald ass.
But that's my point. You have a right to choose what you want to do. There are most people in the comments commenting on why are we even bringing EVS up. It's because she was on his channel.
That's
right. That's why it came up. And I made the point that I don't agree with half of what he says because I don't agree with half of what he says. But if I had a chance, if I were running a channel and I had a chance to interview him and discuss his process and his work and his time, I would do it. The man has a history in comics. There are certain things that he does really, really well. I'm not going to deny him that. I just don't agree with half of his stances. And to be clear, there are times that Wes and I don't agree, but we're not assholes to each other about it. We get along well. There are times that Joe and I don't completely agree. it's life. Fucking get over it. I'll see you in 2 weeks, Joe.
Yeah, no, be ready. But
I'm with Eric though. There was a level of disingenuousness where we've already kind of covered that.
Yeah.
You kind of get into Mean Girls kind of antics and stuff where you're trying to shame somebody.
Sure.
Cal Lyle says Mark Brooks got into drama, but when I looked on that Mad Man's history, he literally says and thinks he's bigger than Star Wars and Star Trek. I'd see that part, but that would be wrong. Certainly hasn't drawn any money compared to Star Wars and Star Trek. Mark Brooks, he just chimes in on everything now. I don't. He's like the weird uncle of comic books now. He's just gonna jump in on everything. Kenneth Dalek
He's replaced Mark Waid as the clown, as the resident fucking chucklehead of the comics.
He's not nearly as big of an asshole as Mark Waid, though.
Close.
He's pretty benign about it. I think he thinks he's laying the smackdown, but he's pretty
well, he's also a bigger idiot.
Well, perhaps.
Sure.
Get it, Dalek says, amen to Josh. What did you say that was smart, Josh?
I don't know. I went on like a 5 or 6 minute rant about just like people have a right to say what they want, but if you go about it a certain way, don't be afraid if people have things to say back.
It was a total filibuster.
It was.
That was Yule's time to shine, man.
I'm sorry.
I didn't get to throw Pink Cat in this conversation. It would have easily happened.
Man, well, we got more. Ted Olson says Joe carrying some serious water for a nasty piece of work like Antos. He saves from cancellation this week.
Look, again, there's so
I
much
don't
we
know,
don't.
Heather.
She's a nasty piece of work.
And
I don't think Joe's emotionally invested in any of this, and I think he's just kind of giving his opinion on it.
No,
on the outside.
I tell you what,
I don't know.
Joe, I didn't think about it that way. You know, at first it just sounded like someone that was like shitting on someone that was on a Comicsgate show.
Yeah.
But Heather Antos and Comicsgate, you know, I just didn't put that together because it's been a couple years now, you know.
And that's the only reason that she's even remotely relevant.
No, she was
I'm sorry,
editor, right?
She's the fucking Anita Sarkeesian of comics.
Hey.
She's
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. What I'm saying is she has beef.
My point is,
she might have to squash it someday.
My point is, if it wasn't for her making her fucking bones by throwing a temper tantrum about Comicsgate, she would have already been out of this industry 4 times over because she's talentless and nobody wants her.
I never covered the original tweet for a reason. I didn't think it was all that interesting. I just thought the follow-up was good where Irene was kind of pointing out some of the holes in there that didn't quite make sense.
Yeah, but equally, you know, it's Anita. She needs it to be relevant to stay relevant herself. And watching former, well, I guess still a professional. I mean, former mainstream professional, now former, I guess, basically say, bitch, shut the fuck up. We weren't friends. You didn't talk to me in 4 years. Go to hell. Was kind of funny.
Oh, it seemed interesting. Wolfstein 3D says, stop your purity test to decide what to do business with or stop complaining about pay in the industry. Pick one. I don't know. The purity tests do bother me, Joe.
No, it's
because you and I have a lot of differences opinions on stuff, but we seem to concentrate on the stuff that we do have in common.
Sure, and yeah, it boils down to do what you want, support who you want, buy what you want, watch what you want.
Yeah,
I'm not checking. None of us here checking to make sure you're buying and watching what's pre-approved by Thinking Critical or anyone on the platform. But you know, it's also like,
wait, Joe, what about that DM you send me every week asking me for what I'm buying?
I told you not to talk about that.
Oh,
but
sorry.
But you know, so yeah, but it's between that and none of this being, you know, surprising. And as we've seen before, everyone uses it to their advantage. It's just like political campaigning where, you know, someone attacks their political opponent and then the opponent sends the fundraising email being like, we've been attacked. You have to send us money. And then the other political opponent is like, we're being attacked about that attack. You have to send us money. And it just goes back and forth. And it's just like, it's just exhausting.
100%.
I had someone come into my comments. They're like, because I said something bad about a comic book. They're like, I'm buying both covers. You know, this sounds great. Like to spite me. I was like, good. Okay. Enjoy the comic book. I hope you like it. I'm like,
I hope you read it.
Think I'm going to be upset?
Okay, a fool and his money are quickly parted. Congratulations, you proved it.
Somebody. The comic book I think is terrible is somebody's favorite comic. You know, there's a lot of comic book readers out there. Gal Lyle says, Josh, would you work with Vita or T? I believe Vita Ayala or T Franklin.
Vita, I actually would, because I've read some stuff from Vita that I think is actually decent. And I think a lot of the problems with writing right now is that they don't have good editors to help guide them. and I would not be a pushover editor. I'll just put it that way. T, I don't know well enough. I don't know well enough to say yay or nay. But if I was told I had to work, look, if I worked for
money talks and bullshit walks, Josh. You're in the real world.
No, I know. But if I was working for a company and I was told I had to work with them, I'm going to do everything I can to make the best product possible. That's my answer. And I think we need more people like that in the industry.
When I was in the military, we'd have meetings and stuff once you become a master sergeant or whatever, and they talk about the problem people. They're like, we don't know what to do with them. I would always say, yes, I will take them. I will do my very best to get the best out of them, whether I like them or not.
Look,
I like the challenge.
Let me put it this way. And that's it. In my day job, I've inherited plenty of employees from either me taking over a store or someone transferring from another location that I was told by multiple people they're worthless, get rid of them. And I was able to turn them into incredible employees. So we're trying to make a very complex situation generalized, and you're not going to get that from me. Sorry.
Cal Lyle says Kathleen Kennedy ruined stuff. Cedar Grace. Vita does, but no one knows what she is. Leah Williams, Kelly Sue, Cecil Castellucci, T. Franklin. The list goes on. I think Cedar Grace is a man. As far as the whole women thing, but
yeah, I think so too.
Are we sure?
I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah. Cedar Grace is a man. I'm absolutely certain of it. But Wheezy's a woman too. Are we going to deny her agency and the greatness of the comic books that she created?
I'll throw her in too. Fuck it.
Get rid of Wheezy
all the people. You know what? As far as comics are concerned, all these women suck. My
goodness.
Well, I mean,
good female creators out there.
Look, sometimes we do have to throw out a good apple to get rid of a rotten bunch.
There you go. That's what I meant. Yes.
Stephanie
I'm sorry. I just don't do dumpster diving. And that's what women writers in the comics industry.
Yeah, I'm just joking. True. Stephanie Hans is a great artist. I would never want to get rid of her.
That's an artist. I never said artist.
Oh yeah, art is totally different than writing, though.
Completely good comic book.
If you ain't drawing it, I don't care about you writing it.
Man, Doc, I want to hear you say that to what's her face? Is there Joe Duffy's
Joe.
face?
How you?
I've met Joe. She's a sweetheart.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, obviously, this is over the top kind of troll.
Yeah, he's healing it up.
But no, I mean, there are incredible women involved in comics. Was it?
Do you like
Trina
Vertigo?
Robbins, Ramona Fradon, like a bunch of people. Glennis Ween colored like half the Bronze Age of Marvel.
Wait a second, that was a woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Glennis is definitely a woman.
I didn't know.
But hey, you know
crazy.
What? Now, the disappointing part is there's been so many great women in comics. None of them actually have jobs now in comics. That's the terrible part.
Karen Berger's got Berger books over at Dark Horse. You see Ada DeCenti every once in a while.
Hey, Karen, let's just say her prime creative years are well behind her at this point.
Everybody's got a prime. So's Frank Miller's. Do you want to throw him out too?
Actually, kind of just want to give him a happy retirement.
My goodness.
Sure, but no, Karen,
an angry person.
And Karen's very sweet. She congratulated me on the Comixology thing as well and all that. And also, I don't know if you guys remember the beginning of this, but Rachel Pollack's also a writer. And she has a new book coming out next week.
Absolutely. Co-written by
someone.
Yeah, but who's the artist? That's what's important here.
It's honestly, though, Eva Cabrera, this is some of the, I've liked her stuff. I've worked with her before, but this is some of the best stuff I've seen her do so far. And I hope, which each book she does just keeps getting better. So,
do you think Dark Horse will pick this one up? Sorry, Wes.
There's a comment by LK that's actually hilarious. And it says, impossible, Joe Corallo. Women weren't working in comics until the 2010s. That's what they always tell us anyway.
Lies.
Finally.
I know.
Finally.
Those were all men.
It's
Blade Graver says, so about the DC sales. DC Sales Apocalypse, Catwoman 94, DC Vampires. Is there any way to course correct? Is Ram V doomed on Detective Comics before it starts? I think he kind of is, to be completely honest. You know, I think they've done a lot of real damage here, Yule, to a lot of their titles.
I am taking a look at how the detective is going to feel and look and say to people going forward, this is your line of demarcation. You know, you can finally get in on
jumping on point.
Get your jumping on point. You know, this is going to be something you're going to be into.
The problem is, this is where I'm getting this idea from, and I don't want to. I want to have a conversation about this. Like, you have Wally West destroyed in Heroes in Crisis, and people were very upset. We have a great Wally West centric Flash story right now, Flash comic book, and it's dropped like out of the top 80. Typically, it would have been in the top 20 4 years ago. Action Comics was perennial top 50 comic book. The Warworld Saga story from Philip Kennedy Johnson is very good, but with all the damage done to Superman by Brian Michael Bendis and everything, people didn't get back on the title even when it got good.
I think you're going to need a good number of years. You're going to need years of it staying good for people to wipe that taste out of their mouth. And then all those issues that are coming out now, like the early Philip Kennedy Johnson issues that didn't get ordered very heavily and didn't recover, they're going to end up worth a decent bit.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think you need to get a writer like Philip Kennedy Johnson will start becoming more of a name, and it's the name that's probably not selling. I mean, Action Comics and Flash, you said, both are really good books. But if you talk to people about it and they say, who's on Flash? Oh, Jeremy Adams. They just say who. They don't know who he is yet. And DC's doing that. And the thing about that tweet, first off, Catwoman is at like 71. This past deal, it's actually rising up. I think that the book's getting worse as it's going on from Teeny Howard, but it actually is raising up in the rankings there. And just to think there, you're throwing shade at Catwoman that's selling better than Action Comics and Flash. So there's a weird deal going on at DC right now where, again, is it that Batman sells that? Obviously, that's the big deal. They have all of their known writers on Batman. And then these other books that are way better are just being lost in the shuffle. And also you have a Dark Crisis coming up where people say, oh, the Justice League's dead, Batman's dead. So why would you read Detective? Why? Because that isn't showing, the whole process of the line. So most people are just turned off by all of that. And Mariko Tamaki's Detective Comics has been garbage. It's been terrible and got worse and worse and worse. And then it was weekly and then very weekly, but you end up with just nonsense. So I think that's the problem. It's going to take a while. Like Doc said, it's going to take a while to correct it, but getting a big name on it, and Ram V people like, but he's not that type of name. You get a huge name on it, boom, it'll start selling again and then go from there.
Well, I think
it was a huge name.
I don't know.
There aren't, let's be honest, there are not any huge names in mainstream comics anymore that are huge in a good way.
I'm saying a name, and even then, though, a name that people will recognize and know, okay, they did that, they did this. Some of these names now are, Tim Sheridan. I
think the biggest
Michael
guy
Conrad?
biggest person you can get, let's say you're going to get a writer, Donny Cates.
Yeah, Donny Cates.
And then and that's well watered down compared to what it used to be. But even if I said Grant Morrison is going to come on and do something, I don't know if anybody cares as much about that anymore either.
Probably
no, because
and get older than him. I mean, and it's less likely. Ain't nobody care about Anna Senning or Chris Claremont.
But that's the problem. There's this vacuum. There's no writers from these huge ones that you're talking about that are older, and these new ones. There's not a lot of great new ones.
DC is a little bit more of a traditionalist fan base. And them coming in and making all the same exact copying Marvel's homework from the last 5 years was much more likely to drive away readers than it was at Marvel. It was a guarantee to drive away the existing readership. Only difference is they didn't gain much in the line of new readership. the little bit of readership that they did gain is going to be on books like Catwoman, but it doesn't even offset the loss of existing readership. But the modern fans, they're not going to buy Superman. You have to hit a consistently good Superman for like 5 or 6 years to draw back the readers you lost. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Sigma Comics says, shout out to Wes and the panel from Awesome Con DC. Keep it tuned to Thinking Critical. Support these great comic book experts and check out Here Comes Calico #5 on Kickstarter. And definitely check out our conversation we had yesterday on the channel. HH is a great guy. They're at Awesome Con in Washington, D.C. If you're in the area, definitely check out the booth. And there's a good chance that he's going to sell you on Here Comes Calico. Live right now on Kickstarter. Cal Lyle says, Josh, I'd work with you even if we argue a lot.
Yeah. Hey, some of the best, if you go and listen to stories being developed, whether it's comics, movies, TV, sometimes your best stories come from two people with two opposing viewpoints because they're forced to negotiate and you get a bomb ass story out of it. Sometimes you get utter shit, but like I know I tend to have a bold stance with certain things, but I'm also known in my industry. Joe's making a face. Do you disagree?
No. It's cute. Keep going.
Oh, okay. No, there is a very regal side of me that a lot of people tend to not see, but they see it if you work with me. But in that respect, in my corporate field, I'm known for being a great team player and bringing people together. And, a lot of these people that we like to bash on, they could be doing that behind the scenes. We don't know.
Wolfstein 3D says, Joe, you missed the point. If Antos doesn't want to do business based on her beliefs, that's on her. However, she has no right to use her platform to peer pressure others to work within her beliefs.
But before I address that, I just want to say that I did have a follow-up to what Josh was saying about being a team player and all that. I was going to say, I'm not a player. I just crush a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But in terms of this here, now I get what you're saying. It's, we're going to be splitting hairs a little bit and not completely agree on this, but it's like, I don't think people should use their platforms like that. I don't know. Like once you get into like, if it's, the right thing, like you have a right to, it's like, I don't know. It gets so complicated. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone should, but everyone uses it to pressure this and that. And I don't like a lot of it. I really didn't like, for me, what was worse was the Pink Cat situation in that she was invited as a guest to a convention and there was pressure to disinvite someone that was all like that. To me, that's really messing potentially with someone's income in a way that we haven't seen play out here yet. Maybe it does long term. I don't know. And if it does long term, I'll feel differently about it. But
we saw that one show do it with Frank Miller. You know?
I mean, that was awful.
I told her, but she doesn't know who Frank Miller is. And I told Pink Cat, just assume, like a Mount Rushmore type person, not being invited all of a sudden. Just crazy. I hate how that happens.
Gal Lyle says, I also forget that women wrote the holy menstruation line. I can't remember her.
America Chavez.
Yeah,
that was Gabby Rivera.
Yeah.
That's a good line. You got to admit. Now it's funny. Yeah.
Gabby is a national fucking treasure.
How many lines like that from comics a few years ago do people even remember?
Exactly.
How many people? Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. Go, Doc.
I was going to say, well, how many lines out of comics like that chased people away and they never picked up another comic again?
Yeah, they still remember the feeling when they heard holy menstruation. That's the important part. Trey Dodson, is the last Ronin allowing IDW to not close shop? TMNT has been spinning wheels with liberal and queer agenda for 2 years. Is Campbell allowed to write fanfics? I imagine they made a ton of money on that last Ronin, even though it didn't come out even quarterly there at the end, because they were charging $8 for that comic book, and it was only 40-something pages. So I imagine they made a ton of money on that. What I think I think they found new investors, but then they closed up most of the stuff that was costing them a ton of money. So I don't think that the last Ronin saved IDW. I think the new money did, because they're now investing in all these new creator-owned things. I'm sure Joe knows more about it than I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that would. As far as what Sophie Campbell's doing on TMNT, man, that thing was awful.
I can't read TMNT anyway, so I've never read Sophie's work on it. I just like her art when it happens.
The art is very great. Good.
Yeah, I love her art. Wet Moon.
Another person who was in my chat this last Tuesday.
Nice.
Were they on?
I really like
bandwagon.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Everyone just hates NFTs. I don't get it.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's
no, but I kind of like. I get it to a point, but it's also like you're disinviting people from convention. You know, like it gets to a point where it's like, this is like, I'm not buying NFTs. I'm not. I might not have gone and talked to or bought anything from Pink Cat. It goes beyond that. It's that like, oh, she's invited in here, demanding she be.
Well, we're talking about how comic sales are hurting and lagging, and you want to get excitement and new people to pay attention. And sometimes you have to do a show you're not allowed to do, whether it be in person or on the internet.
Goblin says people like Spy X Family. Why not read Adam's Flash? That's what I say. It's a damn good comic book. You want a superhero family book?
Mm-hmm. Spy Family's good too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you like Superman, you should go read One Punch Man. If you like the X-Men, go read My Hero Academia. There's some really good, different versions of those heroes out there.
If you hated Teen Titans Academy, go read My Hero Academia. That is the best version of them.
The best palate cleanser.
Oof. Yeah.
Think about it this way. Doc takes his lady friend to a convention, and she doesn't really care about Superman, but she might be into manga. Doc doesn't give a crap about manga, but
he'll give
now there's two people in the place that are learning about it. You know what I mean?
Dude,
I still don't
like the NFT.
You gotta compromise when we're in relationships.
Yeah, she can read whatever the fuck she wants. I'm not reading it.
Right. But you gotta exposing them to something different might make somebody else pay attention to what's going on. And even though Doc doesn't care, he'll turn his nose up to anything black and white. Is that what it is?
Not anything black and white, but most black and white things, almost everything right to left.
Almost everything.
That's what I figured.
Black and white is manga.
No, I just said most things black and white.
You don't like The Art of War?
Not really. I did not like. It was one of the reasons why I got bored partway through Walking Dead.
I wasn't right to left, Doc.
Yeah,
but it was black and white. I didn't like it anymore. I'm not a big fan of black and white. I'm definitely not a fan of right to left. To be perfectly honest, I don't give a shit enough to remember any of these fucking characters' names, and a lot of it just feels like nonsense.
Which is odd because I think manga gets more of a character development than a lot of the Western comics and does it a lot quicker. But I think that now Doc is right to left now is my slogan for him from now on.
Galileo, I forgot Mariko Tamaki. Also, did she strike you as someone who doesn't give a damn and hates beautiful women like Starfire and wants to self-insert? I don't know if she hates beautiful women. I think she's a lesbian, so she probably is into beautiful women, to be honest.
I mean,
as far as the
self-insert, I believe she is. Also, I'm gay, so I don't know how much weight I can carry. But like Huntress looked pretty good in Detective Comics. That's all I'm gonna say.
She did look pretty good, but she definitely did throw a self-insert in that I Am Not Starfire comic. But Jill brought up a good point when we talked about it. There's a good chance that originally wasn't a Starfire comic book. It was something more. I
really think it was, something else.
It was something intended for the YA audience that DC went out there and bought. And said convert it over to DC.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Kind of like how they did with the Dark Knight trilogy.
So once again, we can blame the editors or the people that are running the company more than the people that are actually working on the books.
It would have been Michelle Wells, I believe. She was the one that was doing all that before she was the EIC.
She was pulling any YA stuff that she can get, and So that's probably the reason why we have that.
And that's where Mariko made her
Batman
name. That's where her best
37.
sales have come from, is YA graphic novels.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
What was it? This One Summer and Skim. I think her. I think Jillian
Skim
Tamaki
was a little before, but This One Summer.
Yeah.
I sold the hell out of that book.
I think.
I really enjoyed.
She has problems with writing superheroes.
Well, I was gonna say, she also wrote Supergirl being super. And I thought that was actually pretty good,
but not a traditional superhero type book. She played it her way, and it was good. It was great, actually. I really liked it. But she's better at playing the superheroes not being superheroes, and that is not a really great spin on a Batman book.
Well, she's a slice of life person, for the most part. And
I think that's where you want those, like, if you're gonna do it in a superhero type book, that's where you want those like 6-issue minis or like those Black Label type things. So that's where she needs to be, or let her just do her YA, but not an ongoing series.
I mean, if she has a thing, like obviously, I mean, if the Supergirl being super was good enough to be longer, I'm sure it'll be fine. In that length. It's not necessarily even that. There's finites. Almost every comic series is finite, people. I just want you to know. They'll start over again, but the champions only went 18 issues or whatever it was.
Kenneth Dallin says, Joe, I'm not a player. I just crush a lot. I love it. Shows your knowledge of the culture.
Thank you.
Are you cultured? Boom. Are you cultured swine?
I like to think I'm occasionally cultured on something. So
he's cultured in 1999.
Joe was like really into the Backstreet Boys and stuff, right?
That was Fat Joe.
Oh, okay. Time
out. Talking about the Backstreet.
Call him.
I'm sorry, Big Pun. That was Big Pun.
Who wasn't? I feel like it was of everyone. I feel like it was either Backstreet Boys or NSYNC.
Yeah, my wife was into NSYNC. She didn't like Backstreet Boys. She was above that.
Like that was everybody. And if you deny it, you're a fucking liar. Because my dad, who's like the manliest man type of guy, was like Backstreet Boys all the way.
I don't even know.
I can tell you right now.
About.
What?
I was not into either one.
Well,
no. You got an excuse.
I grew up with a mullet, man.
I wasn't.
I'm from East Texas, dude.
I didn't like either, but one of my I was listening. Here's the funny thing that when I was in like around like 1999, probably the two artists I was listening to the most were 9 Inch Nails and Sarah McLachlan.
I worked at that time. I was working in a record store, and I'm a fucking music snob. So
yeah.
Oh, so you're like Bleach, but not Nevermind, right? That's the kind of guy.
Exactly. If it got played on the radio, fuck that shit,
dude. I was thinking that just the other day. I'm like, people that think Bleach is good are full of shit. Okay,
probably.
Al Lyle wants to know, Josh, what's your Twitter handle so we can follow you?
It is Joshua L. McDonald. If you follow, at Joshua L. McDonald. L is in the letter. If you follow Wes, usually when he tweets about the live streams, he includes us.
It's true.
There, so
I tweet about the live stream, and I always tag everybody that's in the stream.
Yeah,
you can find all of them that way. And I know that he's following me.
I would say we're all on Twitter, and we're all worth following for different reasons. I'm probably the most boring person on Twitter, so sorry.
You are the most boring person on Twitter.
It's because I don't promote anything anymore. So I'm like, let's see what other house is burning down.
Public announcement: disinvites or virtue signaling at its worst. Advertising your lack of cohesion is a red flag. Josh and Joe have great points.
Thank you.
It's because we're gay.
Oh, I get it.
My goodness. But yeah, the disinvite thing was just weird. How did she take it, by the way? I listened to a little bit of the interview. It sounded like she didn't give a fuck.
She doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. He was like, I'm bigger than those guys anyway.
Well, it's funny because like here she is like taking from comic book materials and doesn't know anybody in comic books. And she's telling them that they're so small potatoes in art, and it's true. Comic book people are small potatoes in art. They don't matter. But here she is taking that stuff also. It's like I don't know if I can wrap my head around it all together.
My big My big question for her is she still going to just like go to Toronto? I mean, she has a fucking plane ticket. Like go for a weekend.
Well, she did one of the she did the whole. I mean, I she spun it to her. I didn't really want to go anyway. These are kind of things that get set up for me that I have to do, and I don't really want to go and travel. And it's like I'm better than it, and I'm sure she is.
Yeah. Kenneth Dowling says, shout out to what Josh said about disagreeing with friends. Peaceful discourse is healthy. There are a lot of things I disagree with what Wes said. What? Especially the superhero fights. Jesus, awesome. Man. Half the time I'm taking your side on those, Kenneth. Well, I'm just trying to be disagreeable to
you there on that.
Make the superhero fight more interesting. Oh, Kenneth, you could have told me this in a DM. You don't have to be public about it, man.
Could have done it backstage someday.
My goodness, I feel like I've just got kicked in the nuts. Like Kenneth and I were boys,
man.
I feel attacked.
I don't know if I can handle this.
You just got me disinvited from the Thinking Critical Comic Aficionados panel.
He's the Heather Antos of the super chat.
Oh my goodness, he is the Heather Antos of super chats. How could you do this to me? That's all great. If anyone actually agrees with everything I say, then I think you're strange. Everybody should have way different points of view, and I say I have opinions on lots of stuff that I express. So
unless they're agreeing with me, and then they're just always right.
Doc is
the
wrong.
Left.
Doc is big towel.
This is
Doc is right.
The Doc is right show.
Doc is right.
Just in connection with Doc's comment, all I'm gonna say is I cannot wait for Halloween. That is your spoiler. That's your tease.
Very nice.
Are you gonna be me for Halloween?
Possibly.
I can't wait now either.
You're really gonna spread mustard all over your nice shirt?
I legit I want to come on the show the weekend before Halloween, dress up as Doc, and try to do my best Doc for the show.
And like growing your beard, you're gonna need
I've got a notepad. You guys don't know this. I got a notepad here with the various things that Doc says, like throw Jason Aaron into the fucking sun, stuff like that. It's all written down. Just get ready.
Wow.
I wouldn't need notes. I got it all here, but I've been having Doc on the channel for like 3 years.
You just got to make sure you got like at least like one French fry stuck in your beard.
Okay, that works. I can do it.
There's some cottage cheese in there. You know what I mean?
I'm bringing the eye patch though, so get ready.
Oh, fuck yeah, the eye patch.
And thank you very much for supporting the channel, Kenneth. Obviously, I was just having a little bit of fun there. Kenneth loves me. What else are we going to talk about? We got the May comic book sales or DC Dark Crisis. I say let's do May comic book sales. We're going to talk Dark Crisis next week anyway. We saw the comic book sales, and DC continues to struggle, Joe. But now they're starting to struggle on their graphic novels as well. Is it just that they don't have a lot of great stuff coming out? Do you think that was just an odd month, or it feels like they don't have a lot of the news stories resonating?
Yeah, I think it's going to take more time before we get a solid idea on it. Because every once in a while, you do have these like soft months for any company where where it just depends on the new releases, and it's also tough. And Yul could probably chime in on some of this too. Is like so many graphic novels in particular have been pushed back over and over again. Like there were books like, I mean, I've pre-ordered some omnibuses and things like that where it's like I was supposed to get them much earlier this year, and some of them aren't coming out till October. So I don't know, like that. It's a weird market right now.
Very nice.
Yeah, it is.
What do you think? Is that what you're seeing at your shop?
I think Joe's right. For the most part, with the delays, then the books don't get collected because there is no book to get collected. There have been a lot of Image and other company books that do still come out. But even like the original graphic novels are in between. I still can't get a lot of manga in, and it goes out of print really fast. But I'm also seeing things like George Perez is dying, and there aren't any new Teen Titans to purchase. All during that time, once it went out, it was out, and you can't get volume 1 right now. And I could say the same thing for Marvel. So I don't remember if this is May. I mean, if we're talking like the whole list, talking about back catalog, it's just not available right now. And that's probably, if it's not available, and we know those are the sure sellers, then, the whole paper thing is still a deal. I guess whoever's like working behind the scenes to make these things happen is probably having to juggle a ton of stuff and like move things around. I'm gonna hit that ball back to you, Joe. Is one of those books that Doom Patrol Omnibus I've been waiting for?
Yeah, no, that's got pushed back to October. Another one I pre-ordered was the Legion 5 Years Later, Volume 2, which was it's supposed to come out on Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever stuff comes out. But it was supposed to come out in May. It got pushed back. I'm so excited for that. I love that era, and just to have that all collected now is going to be good. But yeah, there's a bunch of other things that just keep getting pushed back and pushed back. So I think there were some months that DC on paper looked like were going to be stronger, and then they just weren't.
Yeah. I mean, this week is going to be like a crazy week for DC as far as like new things in the store. Yeah. But they're probably less likely to care about collecting one of those Batman miniseries. Well, what am I saying? We know they'll collect those. The Teen Titans Academy won't be collected before something else, or
are you sure?
Maybe they'll sit back on that War of the Amazons collection, for a while before I'm actually putting it out.
Hey, come on, they really need to get that. There's a clamoring for that Teen Titans Academy.
Yes,
you know it, baby.
Oh yeah, everybody's going to be all over that one.
With the reveal in the last issue, I'm doing a Comic Tom right here, by the way. With the people clamoring for that issue, you better hope your store is well stocked like mine. I screwed up on my order, is what I'm saying.
I think one of the problems, like with the trades, you're right. The idea of these delays and not printing. I think that the normal comics, the every week comic deal, I think DC's at a problem right now where they have more jumping off points recently than jumping on points. I think that a lot of people are getting sick and tired of things, and without any clear vision, even if you have something like a Dark Crisis, say it's completely different than death metal and everything else. With that, nobody knows. We said it earlier. People are coming up with their own ideas and just throwing them out there, but they keep giving people reasons to jump off than jump on, and it kind of sucks. I mean, it's sad.
I'm hoping I'm going to be able to take customers that buy anything from DC and put them in. I know we're kind of making a Dark Crisis thing now. Put them on a Dark Crisis, and hopefully from Dark Crisis, they'll care about something else, because that's my only way that I'm actually thinking I can like attack the problem of selling this book. You know what I mean?
And the problem is we're not going to talk the Road to Dark Crisis Justice League book, but that had the worst thing that you could possibly have leading into an event. It was boring. It was a boring book, and it's not going to get people excited. You almost have to fight against that again to say, well, don't worry about that. That's just a money grab, kind of set things up. Wait till we hit Dark Crisis, but it keeps being those things. And it's getting
next week's issue isn't much better, though. I've seen it.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Issues 2 and 3, I think, will be hot, because issue 2, you get the big Nightwing, Slade Wilson fight at Teen Titans Academy, and then in issue 3, you get Hal Jordan leading the Green Lantern Corps against the Great Darkness. Those sound like fun, but we haven't got to the fun part yet.
Yeah,
right. And like I feel like that kind of was how when I was like reading X-Men Red, it was like that first issue felt like so much work to get to the second issue, which didn't suck necessarily. But again, what with the sales of books, X-Men Red should have already been probably done with their first storyline, getting ready to get collected. And these things are like just taking forever to come out. And
it's that Joe Quesada, writing for the trades bullshit.
Well, that might be it too. Yeah. Well, there's an expected. I mean, Marvel, they don't care. They'll screw you for $19.99 no matter what, or $17.99. But there's an expectation there should be about 6 issues worth of comics even if the stories weren't written for the trade. So like Boom really bucks the trend by putting only 4 issues in their fucking trades. They're sons of bitches now.
4 issues in a trade
in 1999 usually. Also, yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ, is that? I mean, hey, look, if we're gonna do something to discourage wait for trade, it's make the trade more expensive than the singles.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I
actually, you know,
I
what?
always
I like
would hope
idea.
that they would do that, but you know, there's the $9.99 first volume thing, and I mean, this is nuts and bolts that nobody gives a shit about.
Well, I'm actually hold on. No, I want to talk about this a little bit more.
Okay.
I think we should really encourage publishers to overcharge for trades.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, the deal is like less people are buying comics, so they raise the price of the comic book. Well, I mean, Marvel really doesn't have a problem. Those epic editions are going to be 50 soon. You know?
Oh yeah, that's a good. And aren't those?
in July I think they're going to be 50.
Oh
right?
my God, no, really? Oh Jesus!
I think the Captain America one, that's the last one of the DeMatteis Zach run, is going to be 50.
Yeah. Damn.
Well,
there's like already... Marvel Masterworks are sometimes over $100 now, and they used to be like back when they started. Those were like $30 hardcovers or something.
The omnibus are there. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, the big omnibuses, they're base instead of 99 now. They're 125 to 150, and for the same amount of content. I think the original. Like volume 1 ASM was 99 when it came out, and I think it's 125 now for like the new printing. For same fucking same book.
Yeah.
Just I don't even think it's just a new printing. It's not even a different cover.
Let me tell you, customers out there, those are heavy boxes and they cost a lot when we get them sent to us.
We've had some discussions in the chat, so I guess this one kind of comes out of that one. Kenneth Dowling says, on Arby's, I got your back, Wes. That rib sandwich is pretty good. Apparently, there's speculation that Perch and I aren't friends anymore or something. I guess Perch made a video.
Yeah, so someone wrote into Perch asking if there was a feud because y'all haven't done stuff together, and Perch was like, well, if there's a feud, it's news to me, which is pretty much what you said. And he just talked about how busy he's been.
Well, he moved. So we had a rhythm. Which this is what I developed with the guests that are on the channels, frequently. Yule and I had a rhythm at one time where he would come in once a week and we would talk about a couple things. And Perch and I we had our rhythm, and then he moved, and then we just never got back into it. And the channel has to go on, and I found that people kind of enjoy the takes of me doing things solo, so we just haven't been able to get together as much. And he's been really, really busy, so he's been harder to book on the weekends.
As long as Joe shows
up,
sounds
like
everything's okay.
We are feuding. That's the guy doesn't even like Arby's. He's a dick.
Hey, I got to explain something. There is beef. The only problem is it's just Arby's beef, which isn't actually real.
I saw that comment earlier in
live. It's not real at all.
So, and then I do see that Ethan, obviously, he's in the chats, and he said, "Send me a link. I'll show up." We're wrapping up. Actually, two of my kids, their birthday is tomorrow, so I actually have to end up, in like a few minutes, and I have to go to bed early. But if you would like to show up on the channel, let's. If you are willing to arrive next weekend, we'll have you on next weekend if you have the time. So I think people would enjoy that. That would be fun. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens there. Do we have anything else to say about those May comic book sales number? Anything else anyone gleaned from those?
The only thing I was going to comment on is, we kind of touched on it earlier, the price of comics. I think so many people are purposely trade waiting. So the fact that some of these trades aren't coming in like they used to in terms of frequency, I think is going to hurt for books like Action Comics and The Flash. I think Action Comics and Flash will benefit from their trades coming out, probably not immediately, but after a trade or two. So it's a shame that that's even getting delayed. It is what it is.
Well, and Marvel started upping the prices of their trades to almost the exact same amount of money it would cost to buy the single issues. Dicks.
While you were gone, I made the same point. I said, you know what? No, what we need to do is encourage the companies to charge a premium for trades. Fuck them. Force people back into reading.
Image Comics #1 trade for $10 is the way to do it.
You do the #1 trade to get people to read the story, and then every, if you're at $4 single issues and you got $5 or 5 or 6 issues, you charge $30 for the next trade, and then force them to buy the singles because it's going to be cheaper. It'll be only $20 to $24 to buy the singles, but $30 to wait for the trades. Fuck them. They get a penalty for waiting for the trade.
So you want to penalize the customers, not the companies.
No, because then
they'll rotten customers that want to save some money.
You know what? I don't like trade waiting anyway, because you know why? It disincentivizes the monthly book.
Anyone else does that, Doc? Shitty stories that aren't worth waiting monthly.
No, I understand that, but it when everybody's trade waiting, everybody writes for the trade. When they write but if nobody's trade waiting anymore because it's a penalty to do it, they'll stop writing for the trade.
If they write good comic books, no one can wait for the trade. They have to read it just so they can have no.
Yeah,
they got
it's
the FOMO.
rough. You guys are both right. Just to let you know. I mean, the curmudgeon in me is like comic books are the only way to read comics, but that's not true. We've got trades, read mine digitally, right? But DC used to have a very strict policy. They would collect something 6 months after the book came out, and they would do it in hardcover, and then they would in 6 months have another hardcover following up the next 6 issues, and then they would have a soft cover come out during that time of the volume 1. So it was basically, if you were waiting for a soft cover trade, you were going to be waiting a whole year before you saw that collected. If you couldn't wait, you got hardcover, and that's your premium price that Doc's talking about. But if you read comics and you supplement it with the trade, you can get the trade and then get the comics, and then you're running.
Remember when Marvel did their premiere editions, the first collection of any book was a small, like 4 to 6 issue hardcover. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months later, they released the soft cover for cheaper. Mm-hmm. They honestly go back to that. Now they skip that, and then the only thing to do hardcover wise is either the Masterworks or the omnibuses.
The only thing that's worth it as far as Marvel, as far as I'm concerned, when it, I'm waiting for a collected form, is those Treasury editions, or there's close to Treasury editions. Yeah. They just had one for the Peach Momoko Demon Blood or whatever, Demon Days. And those are nice. I like them.
The only thing
those are good stories too.
Yeah, the only like Treasury edition sizes that I bought were whenever Ed Pisker's X-Men.
Yeah, those are awesome. That's how it started, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those.
Did they do it for the Fantastic Four one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
Or are they? I'm assuming they're going to do it for the Hulk one. That Jim Rugg's doing.
I'm waiting for the Beta Ray Bill one. That one's going to be sweet.
Nice. Yeah.
So someone's asking if I can get Chuck Dixon back on the channel. I have invited him, but he's also been busy. So I will reattack on Chuck Dixon and see if I can get him back on the channel. Sounds like we'll have EVS next weekend. It's time to wrap it up, folks. We got my boy's birthday tomorrow. I can't be staying along too long. But Dylan Lindsay did say great stream as usual. Definitely worth coming back each week. Well, thank you. We put actually a lot of work into this, having a good fun panel. We were somewhat organized, and I think we do have some fun conversations from time to time. We got Joe in here just laying the smackdown on all of us. What was your problem today, Joe?
It's a day that ends in Y.
Oh my goodness! Well, Joe's congratulations on your Comixology original. I know that you're a big fan of Rachel Pollack. Somewhat of I would say, a hero to you as far as a comic book writer. So I imagine it's like an honor to be able to do something like that.
No, absolutely. It meant a lot to me to get to work with Rachel on this. I've gotten to edit some shorts from her before, but to co-write with her, and we really worked hard on it together. A lot of phone calls and going back and forth, divvying up pages and making sure everything lined up. It was great. Hopefully I get to work with her again. I think this is some of the best stuff that Eva Cabrera has done so far. So I really hope people check it out. Same thing with the Archie short. It was a lot of fun to do. It's coming along great. And but in terms of, I guess we're talking about books we might want to recommend at this point. So I'm going to say By the Horns is back. Check that out from Scout Comics. That's a great one. And there was recently, was it something on Cartoonist Kayfabe? They did the Chip Kids Fantastic Four #1 panel by panel. I picked that up. It's the whole first issue done in an oversized hardcover where each panel's blown up to basically be the size of a full overblown page. It's gorgeous. I've already read it twice. I can't wait to read it again. And they're doing it for Spider-Man in October with Amazing Fantasy 15 and Amazing Spider-Man #1.
So, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. And, it is Pride Month. If people haven't checked out Howard Cruz's Stuck Rubber Baby, that's an all-time favorite of mine. First Second put out a new printing of that book. He passed away before he got to see it. He was a friend and mentor of mine. And it's still been, hard. I really wish I could have, been able to talk to him about some of these things I'm working on now, like with Rachel and all of that. But if you haven't checked out Stuck Rubber Baby, it's absolutely fantastic, gorgeously inked. He was one of the underground comics alongside people like Robert Crumb. He was a friend of Robert Crumb's, so check it out.
He's got cred.
Very nice. All right, Jib, you're over at Weird Science. You got the podcast? Is that already? What should be looking out for?
The podcast. Go to look up anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just look up Weird Science, and we have our DC, Marvel, and manga shows. So we have 3 shows. Check those out. That's about
There's
it.
There's a link in the video description that should have those there as well.
Yep. And for my recommendation, I don't know, maybe Carnage over at Marvel.
It was a week. It was not a good week, Jim.
No, it wasn't a great week. It really was not. Carnage was okay. I didn't even love it, but that would be my recommendation probably for what came out. Nothing at DC that I would truly recommend somebody go and grab.
Yeah, it was a weird week. You got anything you were recommending at the shop?
Oh, those action covers were great. Sorry, I have to say it that way. That was about my favorite DC stuff. I really liked 8 Billion Genies, which came out a couple weeks ago. I was late to the party on that one. Charles Sewell's writing it. I think it's Ryan Brown, but it's what would happen if everybody got a genie with one wish. It's hilarious. I loved it. And Spider-Man #3 comes out next week. Amazing. And I've already read it. And I don't know. I dig it. John Romita Jr. to me is one of the best Spider-Man illustrators. And
we know Spider-Man's going to get his butt kicked. I've seen some
he's getting his ass kicked the whole issue long. It's great.
Ooh, all right.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I talk about that.
It was good fun. Yeah.
Calvin Sense says Spurrier's Step by Bloody Step is on my best of 2022 list.
That's a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
You have to check that one out. Kenneth Dowling says, have a great weekend, fellas. Happy birthday to the kids, West. I love busting your balls. You always have my back. But Nightwing ain't taking Daredevil, especially Frank Miller's Daredevil piece. You are insane. Nightwing would fuck Daredevil up like 6 ways from Sunday. But I do love you, Kenneth. I appreciate the birthday wishes to the kids. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow. We're going to have a big party. We're going to have all the friends and family over. This is really the first big party we've been able to have since COVID happened. So we're very excited. It's been a long time waiting for something like this. So we're going to have some fun. And I definitely appreciate the support, Kenneth. And, Doc is wrong, but I don't know why.
Fuck you. I'm always right.
Jesus. But I love you anyway, even though you support Doc for reasons, I guess. All right, Doc, what do you recommended this week?
You know what? Since Drew's not here to pump it himself, I am absolutely going to do it. The Artist Elite Primer Red came out this week. It's good. I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing what is coming out of Artist Elite's comics. I'm digging that. And otherwise, totally gonna recommend Knights of X #2. Wait, no. Well, just wait until worst of the week tomorrow or Monday. Monday. Yeah, Monday. Sorry, fuck it. Nope. No, that's literally the only thing I'm recommending this week, and recommending you buy back issues, like all the fucking back issues. Stop spending your money on shitheads currently producing comics.
All right, Josh, you recommend anything? There's a lot of Batman content that didn't come out this week.
Wait, isn't Joe one of those shitheads that's currently producing comiks?
Yeah,
but
come on.
Answer for your fellow
Another
shitheads,
fight.
Joe.
Internet, though.
Joe is really pretty, so he will be.
I don't know if that's a good response. Usually when you're like, hey, at least you're pretty, it means, other things. No, definitely no Batman recommendations this week. I was not impressed.
You didn't like the Ghostmaker Clown Hunter team up book that leads you into Batman Inc.?
I don't know what book you're talking about, sir.
Batman Annual.
I know exactly what he's talking about, but I'm choosing not to acknowledge it.
That was a hero shot.
Yeah. No, we did a write up on Batman News a while back, and it was Jay. By the way, Jay's been putting out some great content on Batman News. He's been discussing he's been discussing the various eras of Batman and what's good within them. So if you haven't been reading it, go check that out. It'll give you a good idea of what to pick up back issue wise or collection wise. But he did a little op-ed piece about just DC's misdirection with Ghostmaker and how they could be utilizing other characters, hence Tim Drake, in better ways than they are using him, and how it would make more sense. But hey, they're on this Ghostmaker train, and I don't know why. But no recommendations from the DC world. I honestly don't have any recommendations this week. It was a light week. So if you want to go to your comic shop and support them, go to your LCS owner and ask him what he thinks you should check out. I've found some incredible books by going to my LCS owner and just saying like, hey, is there anything you'd recommend for me? Because they know what you're buying. And they might have something in mind. So pick up a trade or pick up a few issues of something that's either recent or back issues, and you might discover some really good stuff.
I grabbed that crazy food truck because you said a couple weeks ago. Grabbed that right from him. And I loved it. I thought it was cool.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Also,
what's it?
Go ahead. I was just going
to say that the idea of Ghostmaker, the only thing that I could think of is that they let Tynan go, and they're going to try to pull any sort of Tynan character in as if that's what made them the money and the sales, and it wasn't. So people are already done with these characters.
Oh yeah. The other thing I was going to say is Born of Blood 2. Like, go back it if you haven't already. Mm-hmm. Joe is playing a part with that along with Aaron Sparrow. Drew's not here, so we're gonna push that as well. I like to say keep it in the family, and I've got my little family right here, so support them.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely go check out Here Comes Calico #5. And if you haven't seen my conversation with HH that was yesterday, definitely check that out as well. Dark Admiral March Harris says no love for Ghost Rider. Worst show yet. I think that was the worst Ghost Rider.
That was the worst issue I've read in probably a year.
I was kind of surprised. Kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh, that was bad.
Oh wow, I haven't read that one yet.
Ben Percy's shit, decline in his writing.
He's only good for 2 issues now.
Yeah, it's he's only good for 2 issues now. He's soon to be Jason Aaron 2.0.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that issue was
Avengers Forever is pretty good. And it sells well. Oh, whatever.
There we go. I didn't love that issue. There was a lot of weird comics that I've been liking, and we got bad issues from them this week.
I agree.
So tomorrow I will be doing Best of the Week, but Drew isn't available. Not only is he not here, he's not going to be able to talk to me about the best comic books of the week. He's going to like a wine festival because he's domesticated too. He's like Doc. He's about to get married or whatever. So I got a ringer. Gabe from Weird Science DC is going to show up from Comical Opinions, and we're going to do that video tomorrow. It's going to be short though because there just isn't a whole lot of good stuff out there, but I will have my recommendations tomorrow for you. Sounds like EVS will be here live next weekend. That'll be fun. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Had a really good time. I'm excited for my birthday. Well, not my birthday, my boy's birthday, and I'll see y'all later.
Fuck mango.
See ya.